Daily Mail, every bird upon my word singing yo-ho. Yeah. You don't know what's about to hit. Ooh. I was going to take a nap, but that can wait. Yeah. I need to get out a story saying I am live, because I am live, as you guys know. Hold on. I'll record it. Hello everyone, I am live on YouTube covering Jeffrey Epstein's ties to Israel, the Gulf, and we'll also be covering Trump's U-turn on the Epstein files. Hello everyone, I'm going to be covering on YouTube. Hello everyone, I'm going live on YouTube right now to cover Jeffrey Epstein's ties with Israel, the Gulf, and also Trump's U-turn on the Epstein files and the Labour government being absolute ghouls over immigration. The link is here if you're on Instagram, and if you're over on TikTok, the link is in my bio. Going live on YouTube right now to cover Jeffrey Epstein's ties with Israel, the Gulf, and also Trump's U-turn on the Epstein files. Hello everyone. I'm not muted. Very funny. How's your day going? My day is good. It's cold in England for once. Well, it's cold. I say it's cold. I'll probably get some of you Canadians coming in and going, y'all think that's cold? But it is cold to me. Well, Ireland's a very funny place, sir. I haven't uploaded a TikTok in fucking ages. 5 days. That's not great, seeing as I'm a TikToker. Yeah, I'll fix it. Sorry. Iron Giant, are you covering drop sites? I'm not reading. I'm not just sitting here and reading drop site articles. I'm going to cover the gist of what drop site says. Drop site's reporting has been good on this. I do have to say. I mean, pretty terrible stuff with Platner. I watched some of Bad Empanada's video on Platner, and it's really good. But yeah. Why are you starting stream while I'm at work? Sorry, Henry, it's just how it is these days. You probably won't miss... Will you mention today's railway attack in Poland? What's going on in Poland? Someone just asked. Oh, it was a track delivering... Maybe we will talk about that. That sounds interesting. I have got some funny thing once some people join, which is talking about... Did any of you see AB's stream? It was really funny. And I found something else. Someone told me something... Well, Tony Soprano Lover once again told me something fucking hilarious about AB. That AB had previously posted about how he was worried about... Oh, no, we'll just watch the clip. And... many of my friends and closest associates have been decried as left-wing anti-Semites. Get the usuals. I don't really have any Ethan stuff to talk about, so what's the point in adding him to the title? I will talk about Ethan when there's stuff to talk about, don't get me wrong, and there's some stuff which I probably can't... Maybe I'll ask whether I can talk about it, because he's done some pretty bad things recently that none of you know about. But yeah, like, the guy's mentally deranged, and there will be a tiny bit of that, but, AB had something very funny to say, and he's read all my messages that I sent him over and over again on Instagram, but he didn't respond. But that isn't actually the funniest thing that I've heard AB say. The entire H3 crew at this point are just mentally deranged. Bad Empanada is a beast. Don't cross him. Well, I've spoken up and said that, like, I'm not in agreement with every single thing that Bad Empanada says or how he necessarily conducts himself, especially as someone who lives in the UK. But yeah, the stuff in private is like, it's not like Major T. It's more of his public behavior. It's just like a mental statement he made, like just something really, really crazy that he said to someone privately. And I don't want to share it. Like, it's nothing that's like going to be explosive or like change your opinion about fucking Ethan. It's just like the way he conducts himself privately, which is really funny. Like, it's a really funny but also worrying message from someone like him. It's in reference to the idea that, like, no one around him would ever do anything bad. It's just like that. That's literally the gist of it. No, he didn't read the things I DM'd him. If it was what I DM'd him, I would have shared. But AB read them all, but he also reacted to one on stream, and it was really fucking funny. But the funniest thing is this one where, oh God, I don't even know if I want to talk about it yet. Crazier than I don't give a fuck about Palestine. It's crazier in terms of just, like, it's really mental. Like, it's something that you could have easily found months ago, the stuff to do with AB, but the stuff to do with Ethan is just something I'll mention at some later point. Bad Empanada has lost quite a few subs recently. Has he? I think that there's some, like, I saw one time where Bad Empanada did something I really disagreed with, but I don't really know if it's true or not. But either way, yeah. Did you see? Apparently, yeah, I saw they sent plane loads. I haven't covered that yet. I kind of need to. I think just because there's been so much to cover in terms of, like, Ethan stuff, which taps into Palestine and enables me to talk about wider Palestine stuff, but also why I view the Ethan stuff as important, especially now, is, like, Ethan is a dangerous content creator. The guy is, like, completely off the rails, surrounded by multiple sycophants. Like, I won't put him in the title every stream because, you know, it's like, after I got back from Canada, obviously the viewers were down, and what thrust them back upwards is, like, talking about Ethan and people being like, oh, I like Chris's streams. And so it actually pushed up, especially yesterday, you know, where we had 350, 60 people in here, and I hadn't really, like, promoted it on any other social, and it was last minute. Also, I keep trying to set a goal of just, like, small donations, but it doesn't work. If did he lose them in response to his recent video? Because one of the most interesting points in that video, which, you know, was kind of something that I just accepted, was when he talked about how basically people who sign up for the US military are generally of middle class backgrounds. How would you even find that? Economic background. Backgrounds of US soldiers. Well, I mean, Google AI is telling me we improved on the existing literature. We find that recruits score higher than the civilian population on cognitive skill tests and come from households with an above average median parental income and wealth. When you actually think about that, and I don't doubt many people are sort of tricked into it, and yes, hello, Tokyo Hands, and like the goddamn stream. But yeah, like, I'll pin it, yeah, the Discord server, and yeah, please help people out if you can. But no, they are poor. I'm sure that there are still people who are poor who end up signing up to the US military, but also it's just sort of something we accept without investigation because it kind of fits with preconceptions about the US military, predominantly from Vietnam. And maybe there's some research to the contrary, but that's what Bad Empanada claimed. Yeah, get your channel notifications on. We got a crazy one today. It's how they get anyone to enlist to entice them with home ownership school. And I mean, yes, there are many benefits to being in the military. AB lost his spine, now a jellyfish. Yeah, that is rude. We'll just quickly do the Wordle. We'll start with Crane again. No, we won't. We'll start with Ouija. Oh, wow. Slade. Okay. No, it's going to be blank. Let's go for blank. No. Clart. Wow. Clart was a good guess. The military has the most efficient socialist program in the US. What in terms of the things that people get, but people who have been screwed over by the system are easier to brainwash. I mean, definitely, yes. I guess there's just like a thing, and also, it's not surprising that sort of people are tricked into hating others. Glaze. It's not Glaze, surprisingly. We're not watching. I'm wondering what it can be. Clammy. That's not how you spell clammy, is it? M-Y. Clasp, no. S and P are gone. Clammy. Clamp. Yeah, it's probably clamp, isn't it? Good guess, yeah. I thought it was going to be C-L-A-M, but I didn't know it was clamp. Let's do the connections quickly. Hold on. It's kind of, I need to find a better way to start the stream. I don't watch many other live streamers like consistently anymore. I used to when I was younger, but I don't really watch anyone at this point. Like, I just watch myself because I'm the best YouTuber there is. The stream title mentions Epstein. Are we really still talking about this Epstein guy? Who is that from? That are we really still talking about this Epstein guy? Was that Trump who said that? Are you still... Oh, yeah, it was Trump. Here it is. The Simpsons Balenciaga 4 years ago. Okay, maybe that's what we should be watching.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking... We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things... And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. It just seems like a desecration.
A desecration? Interesting. Are we indeed? Are we really still talking about him? Thank you for the 500 yen, was that? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tokyo. Greatly appreciated, as always. And also, I said thank you for becoming a member as well. Trumpy lol. Japan. Yes, Japan. Alley-oop, go-getter, all things with verboten, off-limits, taboo, and prescribed. Yeah. Slam dunk, alley-oop, finger roll, and shoe-in, or... is one of these give us gym workouts / updates. Okay, I trained chest today and my strength is finally coming back because I didn't bench press in Canada like properly. I did bench press. Tokyo Hands, thanks for the 5 gifted. Everyone W's in the chat. Who are the blessed with them? Ellen, CJ, Addison Burns, Annie, Sean Barker. Shout out everyone who is just got a membership. Thank you as always to anyone who supports and gifts. Memberships and donations and watching is what helps keep the channel going. So thank you so much and helps me. Guys, if you donate £1 million, I will never stream on TikTok again. That's your incentive. The people demand more gym selfies. I need to start posting them. That's, by the way, why Hassan posts gym content, because I think if you link outside of a platform, it suppresses your reach on Instagram. But yeah, Tokyo House, thanks for the incredible kindness. Right, sorry, I'm kind of... which one of these is like a slam dunk, a shoe-in, absolutely, and a sure thing? No. Absolutely sure thing. The hyphens. I don't think it can be as simple. We'll try them. No. Equals thirst material. Hyphens. New donation goal. I can't set a donation goal. I don't know why. Maybe if I go... It's probably actually... Wait, I know how to get it done. Chris Kunzler gets it done.
ClickUp AI Note Taker is...
Even I'm getting fucking adverts for this. Nah, the goal feature seems to just be broken on my YouTube. I don't know why. So you were saying, Tokyo Hands, thank you. This is just to distract the stream. Thank you so much, Tokyo Hands. Jesus Christ, there's incredibly kind donations. Tokyo Hands, yeah, I thought I got it wrong. Are you related to Super Hands by any capacity? Thanks for that 1,000 yen. I'm going to be spending that on square watermelons, like in The Simpsons, in that episode where they go to China. So one of you said it's leavening. Why would it be leavening go-getter fadeaway shoe-in? Leavening go-getter fadeaway shoe-in. No. One of you suggested there was some... what's Dersh's phone number? Mate, if I had Dersh's phone number, I wouldn't be giving it to you. I'd be ringing him up every day asking him for financial advice. Alley-oop, slam dunk, fadeaway. Ah, that's it. So I thought I couldn't work out slam dunk, fadeaway, and finger roll. So I had these, but I didn't know what a fadeaway was. What is a fadeaway? Categories... the female mods to get more girlies in here. Girl, that's not Epstein, that's Wordle. Indeed it isn't Epstein yet. But Epstein's just like, we're going to be covering it, don't worry. This is just like the beginning of the stream. You got to wait for like people to come in, so you know, you kind of like cover things. Superhands is a character from Peep Show. Of course, sure thing, absolutely, and okie dokie, do you think? Yeah, I think you're right about that. Shoot, what are these? Starting with oh my god. Scatter, leave, go, and shoe. Impressive. I just got that. Thanks for the help. Oh yeah, wait, I'll show you what I was talking about with AB. This is one of the funniest clips I've ever seen of AB. And also just proof of the mental insanity going on at the H3 podcast.
You're happy to like fucking laugh at all these jokes about other people, right?
Oh, I love it, Denims. I love it. I love being harassed nonstop. I love that I had to fucking close my curtains yesterday because I'm afraid some fucking psycho is going to snipe me or my wife.
Snark is deploying the sniper-trained units. Snark is deploying the sniper units outside AB's house. This is what Bad Empanada's done. Why would you ever think that? Like, look, I can understand thinking, oh god, someone may want to target me, and that making you slightly uncomfortable in public as a public figure. However, like, I mean, at the same time, I'm not sure how you would ever think someone is going to snipe you. I know people have guns in America, but of the priorities of people to shoot, why would you shoot AB?
I love it. It's so much fun. I hated the days where I was loved by everyone. I hate those days. I hate those days when I was friends with all these big creators that I grew up watching. I fucking hated those days. I hated it.
Boy, I hope you actually break this.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Just, yeah, truly incredible things are happening over at the H3 podcast. The level of like collective delusion going on, and AB is not worth it. Yeah, of course he's not worth it, and I'm not going to talk about him for a whole stream, hence why he's not in the title. I just found that hilarious. Like, what level of delusion are you engaging in to actually believe that people are going to snipe you for working with Ethan Klein? It really reminded me of like the thing with like... There's a song I was listening to, like The Man from the Daily Mail by the Irish Brigades, I think, or it's just like generally an Irish song. And there's a bit where it's like, the IRA sent me a time bomb in the mail. And it's just like, oh, God, you know. Just like, I just honestly don't believe it. And by the way, as well, like AB's lamenting not being loved on the internet. This is where the guy lives. Like, look at that. It's just like extravagant. He's got his cores. He's got his Majora's Mask. He's got his G Fuel. He's got his probably, you know, $500-$600 mic and all these things. And it's just like, bro, at a certain point, it's just not worth it working for Ethan Klein. Like, you ain't gonna get sniped. By the way, I don't think I'll ever be able to play CSGO until I move somewhere with better internet. The internet here is just not going to have the capacity, and I fear Montreal won't be able to support the same thing. Like, the fucking internet in Montreal, I've heard, is bad, or like you guys all said it was bad. And then we got one other reaction. This is the only updates we got from him, apart from every hen and Jay is laying hand grenades, saying yo-ho, I'm a provo. I don't know if any of you had access and if he read my, like, DMs live on stream, but my DMs were quite funny. I've told you about, I sent him, you've seen the DMs. I showed you the one where I sent him the rabbit holding a ticking time clock from Alice in Wonderland. No one would go to jail for AB. No. That's an insanely expensive, what the fuck is a time bomb? It's not like a real thing, I don't think. It's just, it's like an exaggeration. But yeah, like, just listen to this as well. We got another quality piece. Follows you. He blocked Mail Slayer. He actually blocked her for even tagging him in this thread. I have an Ethernet cable, but it just doesn't do much. Like, my internet is just not very good. Streaming will do it, but apart from that, it's kind of shitty. I've got those things, but yeah.
Starkiller, seeing as you're live and pro-Palestine, why don't you ask your boss? That's where I stopped. Why don't you, Chris, fucking ask whoever you want to ask your question?
I want to ask my question to Ethan. That's the only person I want to ask my question. In fact, I also asked the question to you, Starkiller. In fact, the question is specifically directed at you. I'm asking, why don't you do this thing? It's kind of a stupid retort, isn't it? I asked you, why did you not do this thing? Like, you could have done it.
Thank you. 1.2k likes.
He doesn't like that.
Nice.
He didn't like that comment.
I'm glad I said I appreciate his advocacy for Palestine.
Boss, loud incorrect buzzer. I saw that, asked why didn't just ask the person he had questions about. Well, the question was directed at you. Like, all you have to do is just ask him. All you have to do is just ask your boss. You know, it's kind of as simple as that. Just ask him. But I guess you're too busy getting sniped, AB, so, you know, it's tough. Like, I also just don't get why he doesn't say, like, actually, that's fucked up. Like, because he knows that people who do that don't care about Sudan. It's not like Ethan did a long thing about Sudan or has ever spoken about him, you know. It's just like... You know exactly why he did that. You know exactly why he did that, but yeah, it's kind of as simple as that. And yeah, light mode Twitter does suck. And on, like, meme stuff that's going on, we have have any of you seen the incredible video of Eric Adams in Israel? Which, I saw some debate over Zionist-occupied government, and, like, I don't like the term. I don't think it's, like, I don't think it's, like, akin to, like, the N-word or something like that, which people were talking about. But at the same time, I think it just leads people down this path, which I don't agree with, which is the idea that Israel is puppeteering the US government, when it's very clear that the US government is involved for Israel for a multitude of different reasons, even if you look across, like, different reasons of support. There's many people who view it from a pragmatic economic standpoint of, like, oh, we want to maintain the same Middle East. There's also people who are just fanatically engaged with it because they are literal Christian Zionist freaks. And yeah, like, I don't think that term Zionist occupied government is like accurate. But what I will say is all of these right wingers are constantly given fuel by shit like this. Listen to what Eric Adams said.
Male T here in Israel, and as I finish, I wanted to come back here to Israel and let you know that I serve you as the mayor, but I want to continue to have the title that's more important to me than anything. I'm your brother. Thank you.
I served you as mayor. But I think it's weird to think you're a bad person. No, I don't think. I think that there are some people who are bigoted and racist, but I think that there are also people who are, I think that there are some people who, on the topic of Palestine, are just like wrong and misguided, but there are also people, who use it for bad ends, people like Nick Fuentes and stuff. But I just, like, seriously, he literally said, your mic volume is much louder than the videos. I think it was just a very quiet video. Is it really bad? Hold on, let me listen to my volume. Who, on the topic of Palestine, are just like wrong and misguided, but there are also people, who use it for bad ends, people like Nick Fuentes and stuff. But I just, like, seriously, he literally said, sorry, you could hear me twice. Hold on, I'll see if we can hear the video again. Oh, I know why you can't hear it. Sorry, the desktop audio's turned down. Sorry about that, guys.
Israel. My male team here in Israel, and as I finish, I wanted to come back here to Israel and let you know that I serve you as the mayor, but I want to continue to have the title that's more important to me than anything. I'm your brother. Thank you.
I mean, we saw that video the other day where he just said Israel in a question. I fixed it. Sorry about that. But yeah, like, just listening to Eric Adams, I don't know what this guy is doing. Like, why are you telling people that you served Israelis as your mayor? Like, you're the mayor of fucking New York. Like, yes, there are Jewish people living there, but there are also, by the way, Jewish people who live in New York that don't agree with Israel. And there are also, like, many this idea that Israel represents all Jewish people. There are many Jewish people who are just living in New York and aren't going to Israel. It's just weird. It's very weird. This is the one where we also had it the other day, which is just even worth watching again.
Last words for Zorn Mondani's New York.
This is New York. It's not Cuba. It's not China. It is the center of capitalism, not socialism. Can't take it backwards. We've made too much success. Got to move forward.
Got it. Marry, F, kill, communism, socialism, capitalism.
I would marry capitalism, Israel, socialism.
At what point do you think that this guy is just like so Israel brain that all he thinks about is Israel?
And communism, I would kick to the curb.
Here's a list of things that you love. Marry, F, kill, and the black community, NYPD, Israel.
If you ask Trump that question, which do you think he would say kill? Because I think probably the black community.
I would marry, and love all three of them, and I would add on to them Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria,
shout out,
South Africa. Exactly. I love them all. Love is
great guy. Great guy. Is there a clip of him saying New York is the Tel Aviv of America?
When you look at the totality of the year, if you had to describe it, and it's tough to do, in one word, what would that word be, and tell me why?
New York. This is a place where every day you wake up, you could experience everything from a plane crashing into our trade center to a person who's celebrating a new business that's open. This is a very, very complicated city, and that's why it's the greatest city on the globe.
Who doesn't think that your city is great because potentially Al-Qaeda will fly a plane into your building? Amazing stuff going on.
Everyone knows.
Here's him saying that New York is the Tel Aviv.
That New York City is the Athens of America. Is the Istanbul of America. Is the Kyiv of America. It's the soul of America. We are the Tel Aviv of America. New York.
What is this guy talking about? The Tel Aviv of America. Everywhere is the Tel Aviv of America. They have the same basic premise, which is the elimination of the indigenous people of the country. Like that's it.
City is the Islamabad of America, the Zagreb of America. We are the Lima of America. New York City is Mexico City of America. This is the Dublin of America, New York City.
Never been stronger because our troops.
I don't think I can watch that. It's got music on. He's a really interesting guy. Like, a great mayor. Great mayor. Tel Aviv is the Tel Aviv of America, though. Anything can happen here. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. One day you might wake up in New York and an Islamo-jihadi Marxist, cultural Marxist might be in power. Zoran Mamdani, or a plane might hit the building. Who knows? Crazy stuff. He posted a funny tweet alongside it. God, as I stand at the Western Wall, I join all those of faith who stood here before me. Thank you, Eric. Very cool stuff. Great way to use your final days of as mayor. Oh, he was hanging around Netanyahu today. Very normal thing to be getting up to as the mayor, just hanging around. Who is this guy here? Is it like his handler or something? Like, why has he been in in both photos? He's also with Isaac Herzog. He's also... I'm pretty sure he's in the tunnel. That's the tunnel under the Al-Aqsa Mosque, isn't it? Which was a massive aggression carried out by the Israelis. And here he is just with Israeli soldiers and just hanging out. The Jewish people. Great to walk those sacred steps. Very normal stuff. This is a normal thing for an American mayor to be doing, right? I cannot believe that it was a serious question in the debate where they would first visit and why visiting Israel is so important as the mayor of an American city. I mean, we had that banging Trump quote about Israel. Sorry, 1 second. No, he's still... So Mamdani isn't sworn in till when? I don't know the exact date. You mean the Hamas tunnel, right? Yeah, the Hamas tunnel. He's at the Hamas tunnel. He's gone to meet with Hamas. I read a thing saying the Western Wall in use right now is actually the side of a Roman temple, and the real complex was a couple of 100 meters. I've never heard anything about that. Is there a Bristol in America KKK? I think it would be. I think it would just be New York, seeing as it's the everything of America. Name a city in the world, and it's that. But yeah, we got a crazy quote out of. That is actually where he was. He was in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. He was also meeting with Israeli soldiers.
The United States backs Israel, but they back it less than they used to. I was having a lot of problems getting support for Israel. And I can't really understand it because I grew up in a world where everything evolved around politically. Everything evolved around Israel, and the power was amazing. One bad word about Israel, and you were virtually out of politics. Today, one good word about Israel, you're out of politics. But I'm still here, and we're leading in the polls by about 50 points. So it can't be so bad, right? As president, I was proud to be the best friend, they say the best president that Israel's ever had, actually.
Well, you know, one bad word in Israel. That's why you had to take down Charlie Kirk, according to the research from Candace. Why are you just putting in Jew? Like, why are you just putting that there? What's the context of that? I'll remove this comment, but why are you typing it in?
And it's a very interesting phenomenon because in Israel I could be elected prime minister today. If I ever decided to give this up,
you can really see where this narrative that America is just controlled by Israel gains weight and why people believe it. And they're certainly not doing anything to challenge it. Saying that you will become the mayor of the Prime Minister of Israel if you just did that, and you're more likely to become that than the US president is amazing stuff, but we move. And once again, we heard he's been clashing with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Who's that? Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her. Okay, what about you?
Are you negotiating?
Her life is...
Just amazing stuff. Amazing stuff is happening in America. Who wouldn't want to live in America where anyone you vote for you supports Israel? Same as the United Kingdom. Anyone you vote for, they're going to support Israel most likely, unless it's not one of the two main parties. Really amazing things are happening in America. New York City knows firsthand the tragic impact of terrorist attacks and the importance of staying prepared. Today I visited Israel's IMI Academy, a leader in training military counter-terrorism and law enforcement forces to learn tactics that can enhance safety. Do you remember a few weeks ago when Jonathan Greenblatt was saying that Zoran was anti-Semitic for saying literally this comment, when the boot of the NYPD is on your neck, it's been laced by the IOF. What is worse, the Bubba thing that Trump blew is Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton's horse, also named Bubba. Maybe it's Trump blowing the horse. Who knows? Guys, I'm really sorry. I actually just have to go pee quickly. I'm sorry to do it so early into the stream, but I'll be back very quickly. I'll be like 30 seconds or like a minute or two. My bathroom is the Tel Aviv of the UK. Wow. What can I say? It doesn't get much better than that. I joined the stream and Chris leaves. This is a hate crime. Sorry. I'm sorry I needed to pee so much. It's because I just drank a protein shake. So I might have to pee again. Which is an oddity. You normally don't actually see me pee on stream. Right. Either way, now it's time to get into Epstein and Trump. So, the first change we've now got is Trump is now actually in favor of releasing the Epstein files, apparently. Here we go. As I said, this is from Truth Social. If I was on Truth Social, I would be giving this a truth. Did I think that up on the way back? No. That just came to mind as I got up here. Like, wow. It's true. Drugs and shitty EDM, yes. Okay, right. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetuated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. What great success? He means great successes, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein, are looking at various Democrat operatives, Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. That's where it lies. Legally entitled to. It looks like Trump will probably go down this route of saying, actually, you're not legally entitled to much of this stuff, and, oh, you can't have it. Like how they tried to say that they weren't releasing them to protect them, to protect the victims. I don't normally go to pee on stream. That's all I'm saying. It's not that I pee on stream. You'll never see me pee on stream. Not happening. But maybe this is the other angle. When I was talking yesterday about how Trump comes out of this, maybe it is like entirely just turning it back on people like Bill Clinton. Because obviously Bill Clinton was up to shady shit with Epstein. Like, that's undeniable. But yeah, where were we? Okay, and the House committee can have whatever they want. I don't care. All I do care about is Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we are winning big. Our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down prices for the American people, delivering historic tax cuts, gaining trillions of dollars of investment into America, a record. Well, maybe that's something we're going to get into. Epstein's connections with not only Israel, but also the Gulf. I think there's actually quite a lot in this kind of stuff, and there's some stuff which I don't know if I've seen reported, and some stuff which perhaps I'm not fully qualified to talk about. But what I mean by that is that I don't necessarily know everything, but I'll base this on discussions with people who are more in the know than me, coming from last year, about security and intelligence sharing between Israel and America. But yeah, and yeah, of course, affordability is just one big, so you're right. It's being stolen from Mamdani. Prices have not gone down. I don't live in America, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's true, that American prices for the average consumer has not gone down, and that's all people really care about. Bringing down prices for the American people, delivering historic oh, there we go, right through that. The rebuilding of our military, securing our border, deporting criminal illegal aliens, ending men in women's sports, stopping transgender for everyone, and so much more. Nobody cared about Epstein when he was alive, and if the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Make America great again. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Just saying that actually, you know, this is a Democrat hoax and all of this stuff, when it's very clearly not a hoax. And in fact, there's much more than is being reported in the mainstream media about this. But of course, you know, it's apparently just a Democrat hoax because that's an easy way to explain away Trump's relationship with him. But no transgender for everyone is tragic news. I was certainly enjoying the transgender for everyone. And I would take the Jeffrey Epstein files if it meant we got transgender for everyone. Media about. Sorry, excuse me, it just went over twice because it crashed. I don't know why. But yeah, crazy stuff. It's kind of crazy that people would read this and actually thinking the election was a landslide. I mean, I think that ultimately, like, anyone who's reading this believes whatever Trump says, so it doesn't matter what happened in the election. Big beautiful Bill. Bill calls Trump the throat goat. Well, apparently, according to Marky Epstein, that it wasn't Bill Clinton, but it remains to be seen. Jeff Epi, yeah, he should be calling him Jeff Epi instead of Epstein. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that groceries are still expensive, and Trump literally said she didn't know what she was talking about. Yeah, of course, because it's also clear that the Republicans won't win a second term, because all of these promises aren't actually that cathartic. Until they start rounding up and just killing people, they're not going to be pleasing their base, are they? Wait, an NYPD officer was shot as well. This is now what Trump is posting. Since President Trump took office, companies have invested trillions of dollars into their US-based operations, onshoring and creating hundreds of thousands of new jobs for America. Trump got community noted. Layoffs are occurring at record rates. Manufacturing jobs are down in 2025, the opposite of what tariffs were supposed to achieve. Very obvious that tariffs weren't going to achieve that because they cause hesitancy in the in the global financial system because Trump is just so willing to change and backpedal on them. There's the problems. And yeah, I'm sad that Trump took away my tits. That's what I really wanted. There are some crazy things in the Epstein files. But like, hold on, let me see if I can find this. This is one of the craziest things. Obama was messaging Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein said, Dershowitz tells me Obama called him to ask him what was going on in Israel. We should discuss. Sent to Reed Weingarten and redacted. Why? Why was Obama calling Alan Dershowitz to find out about what's going on in Israel? They had a funny take on TrueAnon. They were just like, oh, Obama looked for the most Israeli guy ever, and Dershowitz was their thought. So I've got Broken Toy. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some of the drop site reporting. I'm not being obtuse, but for some reason, every time Trump comes into power, Mexican-related ingredients become super cheap in Japan. Thanks, Donald J. Trump. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Wow. You can get tacos, quesadillas. They're all coming down in price. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. The Japanese are profiting off this. And thanks for the 500 yen. But also, by the way, I don't know if I've talked about this before. Do any of you know why soybeans are important in China? So, MSNBC are saying China slow walks US soybean purchases as stockpiles hit multi-year high, undermining Trump's trade deal. I'm just interested to see if any of you actually know why soybeans are important, because it's kind of quite crazy. Do any of you have an idea in the chat? Let me know. Yeah, why China need them? Yeah, pig feed. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, some of you do know it. I found that out recently, that China, it's a lot to do with the price of, it's not soy sauce, surprisingly. It's a lot to do with the price of pork in China. And the Chinese government really monitor the price of pork because people in China have eaten so much pork, basically, over recent years. And pigs are fed on soybeans. And so, obviously, it's going to become more expensive to feed pigs when soybeans go up in price. And so the China is buying so much because of the high amount of pork that's eaten there. It's crazy stuff of why that's actually important. And it's like a major thing that the Chinese economy, the Chinese government used to like monitor their economy. Reuters is telling us China's big feed shift to curb soybean imports strains small farmers. China's move to curb the use of soy meal in animal feed to reduce its dependence on imports is feasible, but it will be costly, and technically challenging the smaller farmers who account for 1/3 of Chinese pork production, industry experts say. In April, China announced its plan to lower the soy meal content in animal rations to 10% by 2030, down from 13% in 2023, as the ongoing trade war with the US adds to Beijing's urgency to bolster food security. In 2017, soy meal accounted for 17.9% of Chinese animal feed, according to its agricultural ministry. It's crazy how, like, something that's so unimportant to you, or like something that is seemingly so like minor and meaningless, is actually really significant in the US-Chinese trade war. That this soybean stuff in America that you assume is just for, like, you know, general soy products actually matters most in terms of pig feed. And so China is literally moving away as a way to exercise soft power over America. Like, it's crazy that China, that's how, like, China does this kind of stuff. If they are willing to take an economic loss when they can exert political power over someone. But yeah, I just thought that that's crazy. Own capitalistic game. Yeah, and it's like, it fucks American farmers, but it's a way in which you can turn them against Trump. Like, a part of Trump's base, one would assume that farmers... Interesting stuff from the BBC here. So apparently there's an old adage in American politics that says people vote with their pocketbooks. I mean, why not just say wallets? Experts say they haven't seen any evidence of meaningful change in support among rural voters since last year. A survey by Pew found that 53% of rural Americans approve of the job that Trump is doing, far higher than the 38% of the country as a whole. Through a survey by ActiVote earlier this month, though a survey by ActiVote earlier this month did find a small decline among Trump's rural voters from 59% in August to 54% in September. Interesting. Like, it's hard to know, though, because that's not farmer specific, is it? But yeah, crazy stuff. I don't even know how I got onto that topic, but yeah, I mean, we got there from Obama talking about Dershowitz calling him and asking him questions about Israel. Like, why would Obama ring Israel? Why would Obama ring Dershowitz to find out about Israel?
Tell you that I like
now to the point where I do not like them. I think of them as bad people.
I don't like them either. I have to tell you that. I like them very much. I had, many social endeavors with him. He invited me to the White House over and over again, including to the Medal of Honor for Shimon Peres, a dear friend of mine who was the Prime Minister of Israel. But I don't like them as people. I remember Michelle Robinson when she was a student, and she was very radical. Obama was not. I mean, he was known as a kind of middle-of-the-roader when he was at Harvard Law School. And I think during the beginning of his first term, he was a little bit more of that. But once he was reelected, you're absolutely right. He became, his true self came out. He's not a nice person. He's not a nice person. He's a smart person. He's very smart, but he's not a nice person.
So maybe it was that they were just friends. I mean, he's claiming that they had loads of social endeavors together, but yeah, crazy stuff. I mean, now we've got Trump potentially releasing it. Alan Dershowitz apparently being rung up about this, and also on to also detract once again. Today is going to be a big day. What we will present in the Charlie Kirk investigation is going to change everything. That is not an exaggeration. Nothing will be the same. I wonder what she's presenting. Let me see if she's actually tweeted about it.
On a panel just like this.
She just posted a video of...
I spoke on a panel.
with The Fray, How to Save a Life, which I obviously can't play. Heartbreaking. They really killed my friend, but justice will be served. Who is they? Israel or Jewish people? Hard to know with Candace. This is Adam Carolla. I was like, is this Adam Carolla? And it says fucking behind him. God, she is mental. I mean, who knows what she'll present. Like, I don't think Israel convinced Charlie Kirk, killed Charlie Kirk on the basis of the fact that I'm not convinced by the idea that he was turning. I just don't see it happening. But yeah, like, I mean, we've got amazing stuff going on in America to cover up this Trump stuff. We've got Trump telling us how he's the most pro-Israel president ever, with his best friend Eric Adams, the most pro-Israel mayor of New York City. But yeah, just amazing stuff is going on. This is just also, by the way, just on the significance of Epstein. Now, TrueAnon was saying that what's consistent, or what you can actually find with what's going on in the files, is that maybe Bannon was making like a documentary to rehabilitate Jeffrey Epstein and bring him back into politics. But either way, 2 weeks before he's arrested, Epstein texts Bannon. Now you can understand why Trump wakes up in the middle of the night sweating when he hears you and I are friends. But the thing about Charlie Kirk is, who do you think killed Charlie Kirk? Do you believe the narrative? Yeah, I think Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, if I'm being honest. I don't see why it's like implausible. He seemingly disliked Charlie Kirk. He was dating a trans person, right? And, Charlie Kirk was a figurehead of sowing hatred and all of these things inside of, against trans people, inciting against them constantly. But yeah, like, I don't know. I don't really believe it. But listening to this, that Trump was waking up sweating, I think the fact is that he knew about what you kind of see about Epstein is, one, he had very powerful influence, and we're going to discuss that towards the end of his life even. Second of all, what there is to say about Epstein as well is that he knew stuff about Trump. He had information about Trump that would implicate Trump in having known about the girls and also being a pervert. I mean, we all knew Trump is a pervert, but the second you connect it with, like, Epstein is where it becomes difficult for him to defend around his, sort of fans and stuff. But yeah, it's crazy to read from Epstein that 2 weeks before he's arrested, Trump wakes up in the middle of the night sweating when he hears you and I are friends. I think Trump had him killed. I genuinely think that Trump had Epstein killed, and I don't think that that's too much of an overreach. And I think that, like, why Epstein was killed is because, looking at it, Epstein had fingers in too many pies. I mean, Epstein's dealings were in terms of Israel, we'll talk about them. What they were in terms of Israel was mostly like dealings with Barak and stuff to engage in creating private security agreements that were also like in part Israeli state policy. And I think perhaps one of the things about Epstein that's interesting is that Epstein was capable of organizing meetings between people and kind of towing this line between between being like, someone who was like private and also publicly involved with governmental security policies. And I think that Israel knew a lot about Epstein, that he wasn't necessarily someone directly working for Israel, but he was working around people who worked in private capacity, but much of that private capacity helped Israel. And I think we'll kind of get into that in a second. I'm just checking if there's anything else. But look at this as well. Like, I'm no major conspiracy theorist that Epstein organized the world, but listen to this. This is Epstein to Steve Bannon. Yes, I saw it. Sorry, I'll hide it. No, I don't need to hide it. So this was a Politico article from Steve Corker saying, hopeful on approving new war powers authorization for Trump admin. Yes, I saw it. One, I will invite Jerry Baker to our dinner tonight. Who's Jerry Baker? I didn't actually look who Jerry Baker was. A significant journalist, maybe? Okay, either way, he's saying that he'll invite them to the dinner. Miro Lejasak, president of UN, will guide the EU project if you like him. His government will fall this week as planned. Just listen to this from Epstein. Same person claims that. It's a statecraft project that pre-existed Epstein. Yes. That's what I generally agree with. But Epstein held a surprising amount of influence to, like, get involved in this kind of stuff. As an intelligence asset, too many powerful people wanted him quiet to keep him alive, and Trump just pushed that button, IMO. Maybe. What are you talking about, politics? What's this message? You terrorizing me terrorizes you. I wonder why. World-eyed psychos. What are you talking about? I don't understand what this is. Later today, we can discuss Michael and his coins. Sultan Dubai in New York. Who is Sultan Dubai? The head of Dubai? But yeah, it looks like this is crazy stuff to be sending to Steve Bannon as late as 2018 about, influencing plans for governments to fall. There's also, right, now we'll get into his links with the Gulf. So apparently, oh, the thing's gone. So, a 2019 email between Epstein and Wolf, 2 months before Epstein died, suggesting MBS paid $450 million to a Russian guy in Palm Beach for a painting that was only worth $1.5 million. And the original is now gone. I don't know why the original's now gone. But here's the email exchange. Okay, starting at the bottom. Prominent editor at the Wall Street Journal. Okay. But I think Charlie wasn't going to turn on Israel Elizabeth. I think he was turning on them, just not for the reasons we would think. Yeah, I don't see it. Sorry, I just need to play. But on the topic of Charlie Kirk, even turning in that sense, Charlie Kirk is someone who enjoyed a lot of political capital, and falling down the America First path is something that would have disavowed him from that. But yeah, is it a coincidence that the Russian that bought the house in Palm Beach knows... sorry, here we go. I'll have to uncover this. In Palm Beach and knows all is the same guy that sold a painting last year to MBS for $450 million that was only worth $1.5 million. Reminder, Trump overruled Congress on Yemen, starting to smell sweet in the way that you put it. In addition, my art guy said the painting wasn't very good. You have an art guy? Doesn't everyone? From Epstein to Wolf. Interesting stuff going on in these emails, but probably, like, this being money laundering and stuff is, plausible. It's completely plausible. It's unusual stuff. Art sales, money laundering, and shocking stuff. Yeah. I think you're probably right about that as well. But why he was sending that as well is bizarre to me. The painting in question being worth that. Let me just check if there's any other updates that I want to... Oh yeah, and also, by the way, just look at this level of capture of like people who were in the pocket or associated with Epstein and wanted to protect him. It appears from this email below that a New York Times reporter is tipping off Jeffrey Epstein about an NYPD investigation in 2017. Has the New York Times commented anywhere? He is digging around, not clear if it's another book or expanded paperback version. Was asking me all sorts of questions about why you hired Ken Starr. I told him I had no idea. I think he is doing some Trump-related digging too. Anyway, worth it. Is that an investigation? That doesn't necessarily seem like a New York Police Department investigation. I feel like turning on them is a bit of a misnomer, because even if he personally didn't like the behavior of the Israel lobbyists, does not mean he'd stop taking their money or stop spreading their rhetoric. That's also true. There's an entire document where it explains in detail how Trump does it. What, in terms of his money laundering? Yeah. We looked at that the other day, of like how Trump explained, how Epstein explained basic money laundering and how Trump did it and how Trump's business worked. I'll see if we can find it, because it was actually probably worth looking at. But yeah. Here we go. I've got it. Okay, so it starts here. Sorry, I don't know if you can see this. You might struggle to see it, so I'll read it out. So it starts at the bottom. This is just one email. It would go something like this. 1. Donald doesn't really own very much. He rents out his name. He puts it on buildings, projects, etc. for a royalty or piece of the upside. He then claims the asset is his. It's very much like Hyatt Hotels. It says Hyatt Hotel on the front, but it is owned by someone else. Sometimes by Hyatt, but not often. Hyatt receives 3% per year of revenue and a piece of the profits, sometimes if the hotel is sold at a profit. Money launderers need a name to purchase trophy properties. Why? There is a little suspicion if a famous wealthy person buys a property that is likely to show in the press, it can't be Jojo my driver up front. So they approach wealthy people and tell them for $2 to $5 million for doing nothing at all. Just lend us your name, and the person gets the positive press. So-and-so bought the most expensive painting, sold the most expensive painting, house, diamond, etc. Kind of crazy that he was messaging him about buying and selling expensive paintings with some oligarch previously. Sold the most expensive painting, house, diamond, etc. X, the Gans art collection, was bought and sold by Joe Louis, and the publicity was the Gans family estate, selling etc. Hypothetically, someone approached Trump and said, can you buy a Palm Beach house in your name? It was Trump Properties LLC. Not sure who actually owns the LLC. Donald can get a loan from a bank, but it is guaranteed by an entity controlled by RR, has a BVI Zitrans that is owned by a family trust. Our wife settles in Oct after Trump announces candidacy. The LLC agreement or the loan agreement allows Donald to get a few million for his name. R, in essence, is the owner. He was part of the Panama Papers released. He also sold the Da Vinci to MBS. If you are a gangster, where and how can you invest money? Answer, not through the front door. Donald Trump's financial disclosures are the same. He represents his income as the gross receipts of his. Clubs means nothing at all. Zero. No income as we know it. He also, Epstein is insane in terms of his shitty spelling. He's got spelled no wrong there. He lists in his assets and their value, but not the corresponding loans against it, so no net number, hence meaningless. He's basically just talking about money laundering. But also, by the way, there was a great Jacobin article about this that has a great ending. So while Epstein likely used his blackmail and other illegal schemes to avoid prosecution for his crimes, his primary strategy, offshore wealth management, was not just legal, but a central feature of modern financial capitalism. If the left want to use the Epstein case to talk about elite impunity, then the conversation has to begin with the strategies the rich use to hide their finances that are completely legal. This article's really good, by the way. There's a great quote here as well. Merritt recalled, another, Jerry Merritt has an even simpler explanation. Merritt recalled once asking Leslie Wexner, as in the billionaire, why Epstein was so well compensated. Les just said, because I got more money than I can ever spend, said Merritt. Les gave him free reign over his checkbooks. Basically, because money was being hidden by Jeffrey Epstein for this guy, he would just pay him insane amounts of money. And there's another bit in here where they talk about... To appreciate how normalized these strategies are among capital, all you have to do is read some of Epstein's correspondence with the rich. In 2013, for example, Pritzker, the family oligarch Thomas, contacted Epstein when his cousin, Penny Pritzker, made the news for hiding $80 million of her wealth from the government. I clearly did something wrong in my life to deal with this bullshit. My last life, sorry, Thomas writes. And I warned her. While the exchange may seem tangential to Epstein's crimes, subtext is everywhere. The Pritzker family didn't just build hotels, WMI executive Aaron Berrick writes. They built the blueprint for generational wealth preservation that every billionaire studies today. Their secret? A network of offshore trusts established 50 years earlier that would revolutionize how America's ultra-wealthy would think about preserving family fortunes. Wasn't Epstein an English teacher? Why is his spelling so bad? Because honestly, who knows? This is basically unintelligible. Just paying for financial advice. Yes, Epstein was just being paid for financial advice. Don't worry. There was also very clear that Epstein's connections were appealing to these people. And as Thomas Volshow, who's someone who we mentioned yesterday, who was a great thing. Oh, he was a math teacher. Yeah. That's why his thing's bad. I accidentally looked into the comment section on something my mum posted on Facebook. He had dyslexia. Stop being ableist. Did he have dyslexia? Oh. Thanks again, Tokyo House, for your incredibly kind donations. Please Google the Mega Group. What is the Mega Group? Is this just a list of people who basically had connections to Epstein? A study group that was a Jewish study group. The Mega Group was an informal group of influential Jewish entrepreneurs. It was founded by Les Wexner and Charles Bronfman as the study group. The group met twice yearly for philanthropy and Judaism seminars. It is said to have had up to 50 members, including Hollywood director Steven Spielberg. Wexner led the group with Bronfman, and it inspired several philanthropic initiatives such as the Partnership for Excellence in Jewish Education, Birthright Israel, and support for the renewal of Hillel International. The group became known to a wider public through a Wall Street Journal report in May 1998 as a pro-Israel lobby group. The organization is also said to have tried to influence US foreign policy in the Middle East. In 2003, it employed Republican political consultant Frank Lutz to help the group mobilize support for Israel under the name Mega. The group is also said to have contacts with the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad and to have served as a vehicle for influence operations in the US. Jeffrey Epstein is said to have used the group to build his network of high-ranking contacts in business, media, and politics. Wexner was Epstein's primary financier, yet later claimed to have known nothing of his criminal activities. Wow. Oh my god, this is also interesting. What the fuck? I mean, sometimes it feels like when you're telling me to Google a random group, I'm like, okay, what the hell are we gonna get to here? But this guy, Ronald Lauder, there's something to talk about here as well, which we're gonna get into now. So we'll watch Dropsite's Democracy Now! Interview.
Brokered numerous deals for Israel. The House of Representatives moves closer to forcing the release of the Epstein files by the Department of Justice. We turn now to look at a new series by Dropsite News looking at Epstein's ties to Israeli intelligence and how he secretly brokered numerous deals for Israeli intelligence. On Tuesday, Dropsite revealed an Israeli spy stayed for weeks at a time with Epstein in Manhattan. Dropsite has also looked at Epstein's role brokering a security agreement between Israel and Mongolia and Epstein's role in setting up a back channel between Israel and Russia on Syria.
So something I just wanted to say on this is, and what Dropsite's articles basically move us towards, and what Dropsite's articles kind of show us, is this real blurring between public and private life of these intelligence officials. Please forgive my false information. Epstein was a maths teacher, which is why obviously billionaire people trusted him with financial advice. Thank you again for the 1,000 yen. Tokyo. But yeah. When it comes to this, when it comes to people trusting him for financial advice and, helping to procure girls, it was obviously because he was a brilliant, character in terms of simply doing maths. He was a great mathematician, I assume. That's why he loved powerful people. But yeah, on this topic, there's some really interesting stuff in here to talk about. Les Rexner is implicated in the Abercrombie. Is he? Fucking hell. Also, Google the Genie Energy Board, including Rupert Murdoch as well as Dick Cheney, with connections to deals the Golan Heights Barack Obama gave them. The Genie Energy Group. I think also, when this guy was telling me the other day about how brilliant American democracy is, the fact that this can be a thing, the fact that this can be like a part of democracy where Dick Cheney can just be, the CEO of Halliburton straight on to being the vice president is fucking crazy to think about. With all those rich people and powerful people's money than I am with lurid sex trafficking. I mean, I would tend to agree with you, but I think the scale of the sex trafficking is so huge, and it's also so interlinked with the powerful people that he was around, that there's a lot to be said about that. But kind of this reporting has been coming out for a while now, what we're about to hear on Democracy Now!, what we're about to hear now. But like, what you kind of see is like Epstein was, getting very involved in security towards the end of his life. And there's some really interesting stuff in the Dropsite stuff.
Comes as CNN's revealed today. Epstein mentioned Donald Trump by name multiple times in private correspondence over the last 15 years, according to newly released emails from Democrats in the House Oversight Committee. CNN's reporting the emails show Epstein asserts Trump spent significant time with a woman whom oversight Democrats describe as a victim of Epstein's sex trafficking. We're joined now by Dropsite's Murtaza Hussain, who's been reporting on Epstein with his colleague Ryan Grimm. Murtaza, welcome back to Democracy Now! Explain what you feel the media is not covering. What is the role of Jeffrey Epstein when it comes to U.S. foreign policy?
So there's been a lot of justifiable focus on Epstein's very grave crimes and facilitation of the crimes of others related to sex trafficking and sex abuse. But one critical aspect of the story has not been covered is Epstein's own relations to foreign governments, the U.S. governments, and particularly foreign intelligence agencies. Now, this information is not entirely private. A lot of it is out there, actually, in House disclosures, as parts of certain lawsuits which have been leveled against Epstein or over Epstein's activities over the past few years, and in a few databases of leaked emails from certain figures around the world which have come out showing extensive contacts with Epstein. So I think that a lot of these coverage of him so far, to date at least, it's focused again on salacious details of his life and the crimes he was involved in related to minors and women. But the other aspect, the political aspect, and who he was and the role he played at this very high level, facilitating deals, interacting and liaisoning with intelligence.
Sorry, my stream keeps crashing. Tokyo Hands, thank you so much for all your donations and support and for watching. Have a lovely rest of the evening. Probably is time to go for bed. And yes, indeed, free Palestine. They included details like Trump getting mad they didn't use gloves. Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, like this kind of stuff is just like... Yeah, and I think just on this topic, the sex trafficking is most interesting in terms of what kind of depravity comes along with being an international super spy, or just someone this powerful and influential. Like people like Ehud Barak being accused of violent sexual assaults, basically. It's unbelievable that this stuff is actually going on, and it kind of taps into the whole eyes wide shut phenomenon of this. I don't know when that really began, of like imagining that billionaires and stuff are having like really lurid sexual depraved parties and stuff. I don't know what that was really begun by, but yeah, it's unsurprising that this stuff is going on, really. But yeah, like just looking into this, I think some of the interesting stuff, and they're right to say, hang on a second, why isn't this being reported? Because if you look into this, it's really important. It's really important stuff. They are all above the law. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is much of his like horrible financial dealings were completely within the law, but just like slightly above it anyway. And so they're already transcending that. But yeah, well, it goes back to the French Revolution, does it? What, like obsession with elite sexual depravity?
Intelligence agencies in different parts of the world has not been covered. We don't know exactly who Epstein was specifically to be in the position to commit the crimes that he was doing. And our story is aiming to focus and shedding light upon one particular aspect, which is Epstein's extensive relationship with Israeli intelligence, U.S. intelligence, and the intelligence agencies of other countries as well, too. He was a deal maker and a fixer at a very, very elite level. And he was making deals that were ultimately wound up, in some cases, being signed as formal security agreements between the government of Israel and other countries. That's what our series is focusing on right now. And it's just coming across naturally looking at the information contained in the publicly available data about his communications over the past, during the period of about 2013 to 2016.
So tell us who Yoni Koren is. You reveal that this senior Israeli intelligence officer lives in one of Epstein's apartments, had close personal ties to former CIA Director Leon Panetta. Can you talk about what specific intelligence gathering operations you believe that Koren was conducting from Epstein's apartment? And also, the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, which has been documented over and over again.
So a lot of the information we have now coming out about these intelligence ties do come from private correspondence between Barak and Epstein, which were leaked by hackers some years ago and posted online, but have never really been analyzed in great detail, but shed profound light on Epstein's ties, not just to Barak, but officials all over the world and foreign governments in Africa and Central Asia and Europe and Russia, whom he was helping connect Barak with.
It is kind of crazy, but it also factors really well into some of the stuff which I talk about a lot, which is like the making of the new Middle East. And I actually asked my professor, I sent him an email, we've not spoken in a while, and I was like, have you been interested in this Epstein stuff? Because like he was really heavily involved in the security stuff. And there's in fact some really interesting stuff, which I don't know if it is mentioned in this interview because I wanted to go into it blind, but I've like done the research obviously. But one of the things that he was talking about is how the Gulf and Israel, prior to the Abraham Accords, already had like secret security sharing and were like building relationships, but it was being done by private citizens rather than being like a public thing by the government as of yet. And so there were like Israeli Mossad spies and these people acting inside of the UAE from Israel, but it wasn't made public that they were doing it until after. And there's some really interesting stuff in these articles as well regarding kind of the Palestine laboratory and things I was talking to about overzealots with. Like, we obviously tend to focus on like the spectacular violent techniques of Israel, selling weaponry to it, selling and field testing said weaponry, but also some of this kind of stuff in what you're looking at is actually much more surveillance technique. And this is discussed. Some of the surveillance technology that this Yoni Koren guy and Ehud Barak alongside Epstein were basically giving over to places like the Ivory Coast was literally developed during the first and second intifada of how you monitor the internet, how you monitor phone calls and all of these things. Anthony Lowenstein, I think, is the name of the guy who wrote the Palestine Laboratory. But it's so interesting how like interconnected this all is. And I think it's kind of an unfortunate aspect that more people aren't so interested by this kind of stuff, that we'd much rather focus exclusively on the sex trafficking because it's so like grabbing and like something that people want to look at, instead of kind of the other stuff, you know, the other stuff that is really important. And this blurring between public and private people who are basically building security agreements between multiple countries.
Interestingly, Barak was relying on Epstein's support rather than vice versa, despite the fact that Barak was a very powerful figure in the Israeli security establishment. And so these emails, in addition to House disclosures, which also pointed the same information, showed that this intelligence agent, who was a longtime military intelligence agent in Israel, who was Barak's chief aide for many years, lived at Epstein's house for significant stretches of time, weeks at a time between this.
It's like kind of undeniable. Like, once again, I think that Epstein does not control everything that goes on between Israel and Palestine. But it's certainly crazy how they can, do this kind of stuff. Like, build these kind of networks. Like, Epstein was able to do this. Cell tower data to connect nodes to target terror cells. The start of things like Palantir were tested in Iraq and Afghanistan. Really interesting. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. All those papers that went unread about how Pegasus was being used against private citizens. Yes, like Maktoum, the Sheikh of Dubai, engaged in one of the most insane domestic abuse campaigns imaginable. So Maktoum, the Sheikh of Dubai, was using Israeli spyware developed most likely against Palestinians by people who served in the Israeli military to spy on people, to spy on his own wife, to domestically abuse his ex-wife. Can you imagine that? This guy is like revered as some kind of like hero in Western society, and as someone who should be like an inspiration for who we should be led by and the societies in which we should live. And yeah, Maktoum is a bitch. Indeed he is. He hacked their lawyers as well. Like, just this kind of stuff. Aye. Like, this kind of stuff going on.
Period of 2013, 2015. He was staying in Epstein's house. We don't know specifically from the communications what they may have been working on or what his role may have been there, or the reason he was staying at his house. Barack would also stay at his house sometimes to hold meetings and to do business in New York. That was facilitated by that. But we do see that they were corresponding. And at one point, Epstein does transfer money to Cohen. And there is also communication between Barack and Cohen in the inbox, which we believe is coded communication, perhaps referring to dead drops of information or something else.
Oh yeah, there's also a crazy bit in one of these. Wait, I'll just pull it up. Drop site, Israeli spy. There's a really crazy bit about... listen to this bit. So Epstein was sending wire transfers over to Michael Cohen, who was like a really important correspondent with him. Barack sent an unusual email containing detailed instructions to pick up a package from the Hyatt 48 Lex Hotel in Manhattan's Midtown East. According to the email, Barack purchased red Beats by Dre headphones on February 24th. Now look, who doesn't love Ehud Barak? He's a man of taste. Could he be buying Beats? Wow, maybe. But yeah, the day after sending Epstein the bank details, Barack instructed Yoni to collect a package containing the headphones from the hotel and return them to an Apple store on the Upper West Side. According to Barack's message, attached to the box was an envelope with a receipt and a bank card. Barack wrote to Cohen, "To get a cash refund, you'll need the card. Email me when you collect it." His request was highly unusual for one thing. It was in English. Across hundreds of emails exchanged between Barack and Cohen in the leaked email dataset, the two men communicated almost exclusively in Hebrew. It was also unheard of for Barack to request Yoni to run a mundane errand, and the timing of the exchange also raises a red flag. After purchasing the headphones and leaving them for Cohen, Barack was scheduled to leave the country. Cohen seemed to immediately understand Barack's request and agreed, writing back in Hebrew, "No problem, what's her name?" Barack replied with a woman's name, Rachel Levin. This name doesn't appear anywhere else in Barack's emails, and it's unclear who or what he was referring to. In the package, so this is what he said, "The package will wait for you from Monday morning at the front desk of..." Yeah, this doesn't sound like a package, does it? The package will wait for you. I know he's Hebrew, but yeah. I can think of a different file that would, though. No self-respecting audio file, indeed. When are you going to have Brace and Liz on? They just dropped a 2.5 hour... I don't know Brace and Liz, so I would love to have Brace Belden on, but I don't think Brace Belden would come on, I'll be honest. Maybe he would. I don't know. I would actually like to have him come on and talk to him about that. I might be able to get Matthew Petty on, and Matthew Petty's interesting. But it's very clear that funny stuff is going on here involving Ehud Barak, involving... Jeffrey Epstein and high-level spies. And what it talks about in here as well is how Corin had connections with Still, who were inside the Israeli military, and then he was brokering these private agreements. It's not MBS or MBZ who he's talking to about the GPS-embedded shoes. I will look at that, don't worry. But yeah, this kind of stuff is just crazy. In the package, you'll find a pair of Beats Studio Wi-Fi earphones, which I bought on Feb 24th in the Apple Store on 67th Street and Broadway Ave. West Side, close to the Lincoln Center. It costed $379, and you can return it till March 8th. Attached to the red box, you'll find an envelope with the invoice/receipt of the transaction. In order to be able to refund in cash, you'll also find my credit card which made the payment. Please let me know on email when you get it from the hotel and return it, preferably by the same Apple Store. Such a weird message to receive. The next Monday, March 2nd, Corin collected the package and reported to Barak that the card had been credited with the funds. Barak instructed Corin to keep the card, and they made arrangements to meet in Israel. On March 12th, after a brief trip to London, Barak landed in Tel Aviv and immediately emailed Corin asking to speak on the phone. Barak and Corin had good reason, so it mentions how basically they were being surveilled by the NSA. Edward Snowden revealed that kind of stuff, but it is just so bizarre. It's such a bizarre thing. And Corin, he began as in the research division of Amman, the IDF's military intelligence directorate, rising through the ranks to become a senior officer. So allegedly, Ehud Barak sent a senior Israeli military officer who was not doing this kind of stuff regularly, just to go and pick up a pair of Beats? Interesting stuff. Corin and former Secretary of State Colin Powell. No date. Corin was a covert fixer in Washington who enjoyed special access to national security figures, including Leon Panetta and his senior advisor, Jeremy Bash. And this is kind of what all of these articles form. If you want to go through DropSite's reporting, it's long and it's hard to read through just on here. But and I'm not going to just sit here and just read articles in a very monotone voice to you. But there's a lot of interesting stuff about how senior security officials were just around Epstein, you know?
Else in New York City that they're engaged in. It's hard to tell because part of the reason that this correspondence is interesting is that we knew from the Snowden disclosures many years ago that Barak and Corin were being surveilled by the NSA in New York around this time, or in the United States around this time. So whatever they were doing with Epstein, or in his house, in New York, amongst each other, with money, with sharing information or data or packages or something else, it was taking place in this period. And again, the interesting thing is that even if one would not look at the emails and keep those separate, this information is in the House disclosures. In Jeffrey Epstein's calendars, it's mentioned that Corin's coming and going from his home and the day of his departure, that he was staying, how long he was staying for. So this is stuff that the media could be covering, the broader media could be covering. It's just escaped attention for reasons which, one can speculate, or it's hard to say exactly. But we're going to continue drilling down this, not shying away from the political implications of his activities, Epstein's activities, and the ties he had with powerful figures like Barak and intelligence agents like Corin.
The leaked emails showed that the former Prime Minister, Ehud Barak, bookmarked a private initiative with Oracle's Larry Ellison. Can you talk about the significance?
Amazing stuff that this will be the front of shirt sponsor of Chelsea, who was meeting with Ehud Barak, a violent and allegedly violent sex offender and former Prime Minister of Israel.
Significance of this initiative.
So what we saw from the email is effectively that around the time that Epstein and Barak were corresponding, that Corin's activities in New York at Epstein's home were going on, Barak himself had gone on to have a separate meeting with Larry Ellison. Now, Larry Ellison is a very well-known pro-Israel donor. He's a billionaire and founder of Oracle. Currently, he's involved with his son buying up much of the American media. We've done other reporting on Ellison, drawn not from this database, but from a separate database of communications, which are also leaked and are posted on a website called the Distributed Denial Service, Denial of Secrets. And they showed that Ellison had been very involved with the Israeli government in other facets, helping, in a way, shape the American political system for Israel. He was helping vet political candidates at the behest of Israeli officials.
Crazy to just listen to that Larry Ellison was vetting political candidates at the behest of Israel. Rip Larry Ellison. Although you're still alive, you would have loved Eric Adams. Beetroot is such an ugly name for a vegetable. I don't like beetroot. Too pink. Too purple, sorry. Dr. Pepper. Why haven't you watched Full Metal Jacket? I've seen Full Metal Jacket and my review stands. It is not as good as... It is not as good as Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now is my favorite film. I've not seen the Deer Hunter.
For their favorability towards Israel to determine who we give money to. So we don't know from the correspondence with Barak what he was discussing with Ellison at that time or what the private initiative may have been. There's no further, not everything was discussed by email. A lot of things were discussed by phone, so not everything is documented in that manner. But we do know that Ellison was very closely involved in promoting the perceived interests of the Israel in the United States at that time, and Barak was doing the same thing. And interestingly, Epstein was doing the same thing. Epstein was helping Barak facilitate Israeli interests around the world, different countries, helping him refine his pitches, connecting with people to help pursue...
Yeah, this is the kind of thing. He was like basically just a fixer. And someone was asking, did he work for Israel? And I'm sorry I didn't get to your question. Did he work for Israel or America? Like, largely it just seems like, especially if you read Drop Site's reporting, which is interesting. Because as I say, I know that some of them, as Bad Empanada was arguing, have done some really shitty stuff around rehabilitating... And Graham Plattner, which fucking sucks, like no two ways about it. Graham Plattner is not a guy who anyone should have been rehabilitating. His Reddit posts are very obviously indicative of someone who was pretty violent and wanted to kill people. Like, he didn't want to even be a soldier for, like, any other reason than just killing people. But seemingly Epstein would, like, largely work with someone like Barak on selling security that increasingly post-Arab Spring became a huge part of government surveillance. Actually, it's really a post-9/11 thing, but ramped up across the world to deal with restive populations as a result of growing general discontent. And you asked me what my favorite film is. That's kind of a hard question. But I'd probably say it's Apocalypse Now. I really love Apocalypse Now. And I've seen Apocalypse Now quite a few times. I really enjoyed The Conversation that I've seen recently, which I've mentioned before. And what else is up there? I like Das Leben der Anderen and Blue Velvet. Blue Velvet is up there. And you are completely correct. If Apocalypse Now didn't just have the... If Apocalypse Now didn't just... Sorry, if Full Metal Jacket didn't have the part where it's meant to be in Vietnam, it would be a fantastic film. The bit in Vietnam's just not that good. But it's crazy that that was filmed in London. But even crazier, one of my family members, the woman who says, sucky, me love you long time, that woman, it used to be one of my family members' secretaries before she went on to become an actor. Her name's like Stella, I think?
The geopolitical interests of the Israeli government. And this is all coming as for one parcel of that. And so at Barak's meeting with Ellison, one can imagine it would have something to do with the ongoing efforts he'd be engaged in.
And the leaked emails showing Jeffrey Epstein and Barak securing a private meeting with Vladimir Putin in 2013 to orchestrate the removal of Bashar al-Assad. It didn't succeed. But in an email exchange, Epstein wrote to the former prime minister of Israel, with civil unrest exploding in Ukraine, Syria, Somalia, Libya, and the desperation of those in power, isn't this perfect for you? Barak replied, you're...
I also think, by the way, on the topic of this, like looking into what he's saying here, isn't it perfect for you? These two were very happy with like the fall of, the fall of these regimes, because what they were hoping for was the appointment of some authoritarian that they could sell surveillance technology to. That seemingly, and Epstein and Barak would both gain major amounts of influence. And yes, new Crystal dropped, and it was just an accident. Was good, actually. Yeah, the new Jafar Panahi film. It was very good. I gave that a 4.5 stars. Brilliant film.
Right in a way, but not simple to transform it into a cash flow, a subject for Saturday, Ehud Barak wrote.
I guess also, like, trying to interpret this, and this is, of course, just based on my own personal thought. Like, truthfully, how are any of us supposed to know what multi-millionaire pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and former head of the Israeli government were thinking?
Can you talk about, as we wrap up, that relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barak attempting to profit from the war in Syria?
Also, I thought Brace Belden for ISIS, like, what did he do to, like, prop up or, like, try and take down Assad? It's like Chris Kay started supporting Starmer because he'll give better health insurance and a more lethal UK military. Hassan supporting Platner so hardcore. Has Hassan gone off Platner? You didn't have to delete that message, by the way. You don't have to delete that. I don't know if you did that by accident. But either way, the message is fair enough. Like, I don't really know what Hassan's full opinion on Graham Platner. I'd heard that Hassan was not such a fan of Graham Platner, or wasn't still giving like a ringing endorsement of Graham Platner. But I mean, I would watch it if it wasn't a 2-hour video. Bad Empanada's video about Graham Platner is really fucking good.
Well, that email that you just read out is a very important email because it kind of explains the broader thesis that Epstein and Barak have been operating under and what they've been doing exactly. They've been going around the world Epstein had been pitching Barak as someone who could solve the security problems of different countries and introducing him to powerful people in these countries. We're going to cover more of those in the weeks and months to come. And telling them that Barak, through his connections with the Israeli intelligence and Israeli intelligence-linked surveillance technology firms especially, could help introduce them to these countries, embed them, and then later sign formal deals with Israel. We did a story about this, how it manifested in Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah, this stuff is crazy. This stuff is crazy, like looking into what actually went on there and like what they were doing and how basically private deal making that was made alongside Ehud Barak, who'd left his position, but even when he was in his position as defense minister, had a relationship with Epstein. Crazy stuff. He was part of the YPG and was funded by the CIA in Syria to help remove Assad, ultimately, no matter what they claim personally. I think that ultimately, like, the YPG fighting against ISIS and Turkey is not actually necessarily one of the worst things in the world. Like, ISIS were, like, a horrifying organization. And I think that ultimately, after all of the destabilization attempts, Assad kind of fucked himself by not rebuilding the country. I think that the CIA and MI5 really did, like, push and prop up, what's his name? Jolani. Like, there's a thing of them talking about rehabilitating the image of Jolani and telling him to call himself al-Shara. There's like a video of an MI5 guy talking about like them doing this exact thing.
Also Mongolia. In this tie with Russia, it's very fascinating because Epstein was the one who's arranging a back channel between Barak and Putin to discuss this deal to remove Bashar al-Assad and replace him with putatively, a pro-Russian dictator who Israel was also okay with. That didn't come to pass. But I think that the interactions show a tremendous access that Epstein enjoyed, not just to Israeli officials or U.S. officials, but also to Russian officials. He had the ability to get meetings with Putin. He met with Putin himself on numerous occasions, according to his own correspondence. And, that is something that, how did that come about? What was the background behind that? We don't know. But we do know that at the very least, Epstein was somebody who considered himself to have the ability to access high-level Russian officials. He claimed in the emails, as I mentioned, that he met Putin or Putin asked to meet him. That's Epstein's own depiction of the...
By the way, I also think that if you're just openly sending Gmail emails about this stuff, and you're basically... just talking to, you're like talking to these fucking people about just how you're, gonna meet with X person and you're setting all of this stuff up. I really, really don't think that there is much chance that the, fucking US intelligence service didn't know what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. I'm sorry, I don't think that that's plausible.
Interaction, but he did absolutely have the juice to get Barak in the room with Putin. And the funny thing is that Barak had to rely on Epstein for that, to create that back channel. It shows the tremendous influence and power that Epstein had, which does not really... we have not had a full accounting of that. That has not been accounted for in our public understanding of this case. We hope to shed more light on that in our own reporting, but we need the government, we need other news outlets to pay attention to this and put together the pieces of who Epstein was and the role he played as an international deal maker.
Murtaza is saying, I want to thank you.
That's basically what all of Dropsite's reporting is. But by the way, if you wanted this article as well, capitalism enabled Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. It's also crazy as well, because if you follow that thread of like what it's actually about and what all of this stuff is happening around, you kind of get to this point of like, hang on a second, Jeffrey Epstein was just hanging around countries hoping that they fell and trying to influence their politics so that he could just sell to them sell to them is surveillance technology. I think we know why Trump cared so much about Hillary's emails. Maybe that's why he could make the noise. Guy who barely knows Epstein smiling in 99% of pictures with him. Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm sorry, he did not barely know Epstein. Him and Epstein were friends, and as I covered yesterday, Epstein's emails seem to suggest that, you know, there was much more to it than just, you know, a couple of things. Hold on. Which one am I looking for? Okay, this is... Coast. This is one of the best drop site reports that I'd highly recommend. But if you just want to see the logic of it all, Jeffrey Epstein helped to Israel sell a surveillance state to Cote d'Ivoire. So it basically was so Ouattara, is that how you say it? Ouattara? I don't know. Ouattara could like continually surveil and crush any dissent in his population. But perhaps the craziest part to me is here. So we go here. How can we move forward? Barak finally returned to Israel late at night in August. Upon arriving, emails show Barak made a phone call to Stanley Fischer, the governor of the Bank of Israel and a close friend of Ouattara from the days at the IMF during the late 1990s. A few days later, Barak was contacted by Jean-Baptiste Gomis, the Ivorian ambassador to Israel, bearing gifts from Cote d'Ivoire. Gomis wrote... Sorry, excuse me. I seize this opportunity to ask you for a meeting to talk about your impression of your visit to Cote d'Ivoire and moreover how we can move forward. Barak visited Gomis at his house soon after that. On September 16th, 2013, the details of Israel's offer arrived in Barak's inbox. Crazy that this stuff was just going to Barak's inbox. Just crazy that this stuff is available. Barak received a proposal from Aaron Zayevi Farkash, former head of Israeli intelligence, for a Signet signals intelligence organization in Cote d'Ivoire. The document, a 13-page PDF, mapped out the complete architecture for eavesdropping, phone calls, satellites, tactical radio, and special targets like cyber cafes. The data streams flowed to media processing servers to be reviewed by analysts, then synthesized into reports for security leaders. Even more terrifying that now, this requires far less manpower to assess a far larger amount of information thanks to AI. Just here's how it kind of is processed. So, landline and cellular, voice, linguists, analysts, fax, messaging, data, internet, just how it's fed through. The document was authored by Farkash and Amnon Unger, who developed these systems in occupied Palestine during the two periods of Intifada between 1990 and 2005. By the way, also, just shows you that whatever Palestinians do, they were going to be highly surveilled and repressed by the Israeli government. Too much is indeed going on with this case, but if we're looking for a kernel, what you do find, and what I think is the thread that we can easily get to or try and make sense of, is that both Ehud Barak and Jeffrey Epstein were working closely with Israeli intelligence officials. I mean, Barak is like a senior intelligence official and senior military figure himself and political figure. I mean, he was the prime minister of Israel. But they were working together to basically sell Israeli surveillance technology to other countries to crush dissent and enable dictatorships there. That's why they wanted change in Syria. They wanted a friendly dictator so they could score political influence and more power for themselves by selling the information technology. And Epstein also, which we'll get into shortly, had a special position as well because of his relationship and hatred for Trump. He knew and understood Trump because the two of them had spent vast amounts of time together. And so for many people in the Middle East who already saw this guy as someone who would sell surveillance technology, what they could get out of him was someone who was going to help them develop these relationships and build things even more. It's economic plundering. 100% it is economic plundering. It is a very standard practice, but it's also just the transmissibility of controlling restive populations, techniques developed in Israel that are then used and sold elsewhere to other dictatorial governments. This is why I balk at people whose analysis on the Middle East ends with, well, we need to get rid of Iran and then what? Because yes, the Iranian government is dictatorial and authoritarian, but so too is the Israeli government towards Palestinians, and the system of Israeli supremacy is far wider than just, Palestine. Like, the system of American supremacy in the Middle East requires a multitude of different regimes that have to be dictatorial. It's called the imperial boomerang, right? Yes, in some senses, but the imperial boomerang means more like when policies from the colonies come back to affect the mother state, the mother colony. But this is much more like just how surveillance technology, weaponry and stuff is really transportable across borders, because Israel is an excellent case study for having millions of people who are diametrically opposed to your regime and receive no benefits, and it is nigh on impossible to create a class of people who are largely supportive of the Israeli state. You are never going to get the vast majority of Palestinians to be supportive of Israel. It is never going to happen. And so what Israel develops, therefore, is advanced surveillance techniques to deal with a liberationary movement that has been working against the Israeli government and developing methods to challenge Israel for decades. For decades, and Israel is becoming the best at it. Like, literally, the two men had been senior commanders in Israel's Unit 8200 Signals Intelligence Unit before branching off to other roles in the military and private sector. This is the kind of thing. Epstein may not have worked for the Israeli government, but the Israeli government, the CIA, and others were more than happy with what he was doing because he had connections where even if he was not working in an official capacity, the Israeli government could effectively okay this kind of shit, to have senior intelligence officials feeding messages to Barak, to how have I forgotten his name? Koren, feeding messages to Koren, Barak's right-hand man, another senior official. You could basically just send this kind of stuff to these people that was coming from the Israeli government to tell them what was 100% going on, and then to develop and move forward Israeli interests without having to tarnish the image of Israel. It's crazy stuff. My dad grew up getting houses checked by soldiers with laptops with battery packs in the 1960s. Are you talking about in Palestine? The former US ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, who wrote the book One Jewish State, is now an executive for an NSO group who is responsible for Pegasus spyware. Pegasus is a really nasty spyware because previous spyware would slow down your phone. Whereas this kind of spyware does nothing. It is almost undetectable and very difficult to get out. And it could quite possibly be in many people's phones to be used for blackmail and stuff, They wouldn't use it on anyone, but on high-profile targets, they'd get it in and they will be using it to find out what they're doing. Oh, in Belfast. Right. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense, yeah. Indeed, yeah. That's also the thing. What Epstein is doing isn't that unprecedented. Like, he's basically just an unofficial representative of the Israeli government, and this is what these things kind of tell you. Like, Epstein was just someone who was pushing Israeli interests in spaces where it was difficult to have Israeli interests. Now, the other place where we can kind of find this out is the Gulf. So there are a multitude of bizarre emails with Jeffrey Epstein and Gulf officials. Matthew Petty really has the best article, and we can kind of look through it here. But yeah, works for some like data processing stuff, if you want a link for the website. Really? Sure, Short Brothers is the oldest aircraft manufacturer on Earth. Bombardier bought it when it was privatized. Crazy. Epstein was supposedly advising Arab countries on how to deal with America, had an audience scheduled with a Qatari prince, and close to Trump's future ambassador to Turkey. Now, for these countries, they weren't meeting with an Israeli government official. They weren't meeting with Israeli spies. They met with someone who had considerable power and looked to be untouchable because of the dirt that he had on the American presidents and also many other senior figures all over the world. But yeah, listen to this. Donald Trump announced in 2017 that his first official overseas trip would be to the Middle East. An unnamed political figure, possibly from Kuwait, wanted to know how to deal with the new unpredictable American leader. So the person he turned to, his acquaintance, Jeffrey Epstein. Any tips on how we should communicate with him? The figure wrote in an email. Epstein asked what concrete things the person's emir would like the US to offer. A good word about the emir's effort to host the Yemen peace talks will be great. I think and if peace agreement was signed in Kuwait, that would be 7 thumbs up emoji, the figure wrote. I love it when a peace deal gets signed in Kuwait. That is 7 thumbs up emoji. Kuwait has hosted unsuccessful peace talks in mid-2016 to resolve the Yemeni civil war, which was the worst humanitarian crisis in the Middle East at the time. Epstein sent the person a link to a Jerusalem Post article about cosmetics heir Ronald Lauder's attempt to act as a freelance diplomat. He just left my house when you arrived. Here's the key for you. I understand Dubai. Epstein continued. Of course, I will say, one of the least surprising things about all of this is that Jeffrey Epstein understands Dubai. But the other reason that I thought that this was crazy is one of you mentioned what was it called? The Mega Group? Mega Study Group. Look who is one of the members of the Mega Study Group. Ronald Lauder. Look who goes on to work as a freelance diplomat. It's just another person with a considerable amount of wealth, with a lack of talent, who they could basically use as someone who would then go on and further Epstein and Israeli and American interests without actually, this guy would be very interested in fucking furthering Israeli interests looking at his history. But like, yeah, it's kind of, and pre-Abraham Accords, you've got to remember that this was like real stuff where you could get yourself involved and meet with Epstein, who could put you in contact, not necessarily with official Israeli spies and stuff, but with figures who were in a shadowy network of maybe being spies, maybe being former ones, and things like that. And it's kind of crazy to look at in this context. You mentioned Genie Energy as well. How come you mention it? Genie Energy is like just seemingly somewhere from Newark, New Jersey. Oh, wow. Okay, I see what you mean. Its president of its Israeli subsidiary is Effie Itam. Genie Energy's strategic advisory board is composed of Dick Cheney since 2009, former vice president of the US States. Not anymore, Rip Bozo smoking on that Cheney pack. Rupert Murdoch, media mogul and chairman of News Corp. Maybe this Succession is a brilliant TV show, but maybe they should have just made Logan Roy just like talk about Israel every now and again and just be like, I love Israel. Or just that his news Waystar Royco just had to publish its daily love of Israel. And he was also on the board of this kind of stuff. James Woolsey, former CIA director, Larry Summers, another Epstein associate, Michael Sterhart, Jacob Rothschild, and Mary Laundrio. Interesting stuff. Epstein got a Bedouin tent from MBS for some kind of depraved desert social function I don't want to think about because I'm sure would make you sick. Well, also, isn't there like a big thing going on with like prostitution and people brought over who like come over ostensibly for model work to Dubai? I know it's a thing in Dubai. I know Bahrain also has a huge amount of prostitutes. I don't actually know where they're from, and they probably are actually foreign prostitutes. But anyway, just in this context of bringing people over and putting them into prostitution. But yeah, there's connection with Barack Obama in 2013. Fucking hell. Les Wexner is implicated in 2 sex trafficking rings. Bro's going for a Hall of Fame performance in terms of he's the MVP of sex trafficking. Well, actually, that was definitely Jeffrey Epstein. He was the most vital player in sex trafficking. Also, Jerusalem Post, a source used by Zionists on TikTok and Jeffrey Epstein. Lauder did not immediately respond to requests for comment sent through his company Estee Lauder or his non-profit organization, the World Jewish Congress. So here's what it said. Yemeni FM, we are ready to go back to peace talks. Yemeni Foreign Minister Abdul Malik al-Makhalafi said Friday that the Yemeni government is adhering to the peace process and is ready to go back to the table to bring peace to Yemen as soon as possible and to save people from suffering. But the positive position of the government does not get any response by the revolutionaries, who are still refusing the demands for peace or to accept any international peace efforts. Why are you going to Jeffrey Epstein for this? Why are you going to Jeffrey Epstein to, like, do this? I'm sorry, it is, as I've tried to explain, I don't think Epstein is controlling the world, but what I am saying is, this is very clear how, like, Gulf diplomacy was operating, and, like, shit around this worked. And it's crazy to think that Jeffrey Epstein was trying to sort out the Yemeni civil war. No wonder that the Yemeni civil war raged on for so long. Epstein had his mind in the gutter and was constantly thinking about how he could abuse more women. Okay, this is just stuff about them not signing up. Okay, wait. Much to do around the Trump trip. I hope you are enjoying. Ooh. Emails published as part of the House Oversight Committee's investigation into Epstein's estate this week shed new light on the late sex trafficker's international political dealings long after his 2008 guilty plea for procuring a minor for prostitution. He was active and welcome in powerful circles. Epstein bragged to a former Norwegian president about passing on information about Trump to a Russian ambassador and offered former advisor Steve Bannon to help with politicians in Europe. Also, by the way, maybe on the topic of like people who wanted Epstein killed, Epstein also had like quite sizable knowledge about what was going on in the Gulf and a kind of diplomacy that dies with the Abraham Accords. Perhaps he would have been fucking outraged by the Abraham Accords. Because they were announced in 2020. I thought they were announced in 2017. Actually, even this states it. A rapprochement between Israel and Sunni Arab states took place in the 2010s due to their shared fear of Shiite Iran and its nuclear program. In part, yes, but also in part trying to maintain dictatorships by staying closer to the Western sphere of influence. By 2017, unofficial cooperation with Saudi Arabia had been ongoing for at least 5 years, with intelligence services from both countries assisting each other and officials regularly sharing intelligence. So this is from 2017. Longshot KDB, thank you so much for the £10. Incredibly kind donation. You didn't even send a message. But yeah, like, I think that this was mostly just unofficial stuff. Who may have filled Epstein's shoes? I think it just became more official. I think most of the countries he dealt with were just very unofficial, and now they're much more official. Not gonna lie, it sounds like almost everyone wanted Epstein dead after he got caught. 100%. Would Epstein have sung like a canary? Because I guess getting him out of the sex trafficking charges is so hard. Like, getting him off those sex trafficking charges and the level of public interest in the case, they knew that it would be a problem, I guess. Wikipedia is not worth... Yeah, but it's a source from MSNBC, and I also... The only reason I would say that I would, like, be comfortable with using Wikipedia there is because I know from, like, much better informed people that, like, actually know there is truth to that story of how, like, there were covert intelligence operations together going on prior to the Abraham Accords. Epstein bragged to a former Norwegian president about passing on information about Trump to a Russian ambassador and offered former Trump advisor Steve Bannon help meeting with politicians in Europe. But the most intriguing revelations have been about Epstein's dealings in the Middle East. Some of Epstein's relationships to the region are already known. He kept a photo with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in his apartment. You know what? Is that just Mohammed bin Salman without, like, without a Thaubon? Because when I look at a photo of Mohammed bin Salman, he just doesn't look like that. Has he also been... Oh no, it is what he looks like. It's because he's balding. You can see why he doesn't want to take the headdress off. God. I know it's him, but to me it always... Oh, sorry, it's probably covered. No, it's not covered. To me, it just really didn't fucking look like him. I know it's him. Have you covered... I haven't, and I'm sorry, I didn't research enough about Chomsky. I really want to cover that, though. I just obviously got wrapped up in this, and then I've got a final thing to cover, which is the UK government, just Labour Party being evil as fuck. He and did business with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, while helping Barak set up back channels with... We know about that, we've already discussed that. What is the headdress called? What's the name of it? Because I know the Thaub is like the official, like, dress, but what is the full thing? Yeah, and I love Noam. Noam Chomsky apparently wrote a letter of recommendation for Epstein as well, I've heard, but that's alleged and I don't remember. It's his friend, Ben Salmon. Yeah, Ben Salmon. John Bin Landan. The House Oversight Committee's disclosures add 2 other countries to the mix, along with the mysterious figures asking about favours for Kuwait. The name is completely redacted. The emails show that Epstein was in contact with an influential man in Qatar, referred to only as Jabor Y. In November 2016, shortly before the US election, Epstein apologized to Jabor for cancelling an audience that Jabor had arranged with Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabbar Al Thani, the former Prime Minister of Qatar. Too much work around the election, Epstein wrote, adding that the states will be in turmoil for a while now, no matter who wins, and promising to explain when I see you. Unfortunately, too much work around the election. I will need to cancel Doha before the 9th. It is so crazy. Many stories to tell when I see you. When do you leave? I feel badly about changes at the last minute, but I hope you understand. No worries, I understand your situation. I will leave on the 9th and be back on the 13th. Again leave on the 16th and back 18th. I had fixed an appointment for you in Monday with Sheikh Hamad, which I shall cancel and fix later. Let me know when you plan again your trip to Doha. Thank you for being understanding. I hate cancelling, but I will explain when I see you. The states will be in turmoil for a while, no matter who wins. It's also possible that there will be court battles to decide, like Bush-Gore. One thing is for sure, women are angry, they have power, and race relations are sensitive. Epstein has not gone woke. Guys, I would like to confirm that Epstein is not woke. Epstein is dark MAGA. He knows that women will be angry over Donald Trump and his behavior. It's unclear whether he ever rescheduled the meeting. The exact identity of the Qatari man is also unclear. However, a group of influential names that Epstein sent to himself with the title List for Bannon Steve includes HBJ, a nickname commonly used for Al-Thani, the former Prime Minister. The Qatari Foreign Ministry and Qatari Embassy in Washington did not immediately respond to requests for comments. Yet Epstein did Epstein become blackpilled? Was Epstein an incel?
Give us your name.
Beat.
Could you please give us your name?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Is it true, sir, that you have what's been described as an egg-shaped penis?
Form, vague, indefinite, and I'm going to give you the first warning, Mr. Coogan, that these types of questions are not only argumentative, but directed in a manner to embarrass Mr. Epstein. If you continue with this type of question, I will adjourn the deposition immediately.
Sir, according to the police department's probable cause affidavit, one witness described your penis as oval-shaped and claimed when erect it was thick towards the bottom but was thin and small towards the head portion and called it egg-shaped. Those are not my words, I apologize.
I love how Epstein's just loving this, smiling.
But as Mr. Critton has stated, that this is a... I'm willing to continue.
Poor Epstein. It's unfortunate that Alan Dershowitz couldn't have got him out on that one. Alan Dershowitz sues woke attackers of Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, that is real. That's not like an overdubbed thing. That is, do you not know about this? It was said that Jeffrey Epstein had an egg-shaped penis that was thick towards the base and small towards the top. I'm sorry, it's a real detraction from like what we're talking about here, but it's very fucking funny. I would leave too. Yeah, they got your mans on the eggy penis charges. It's where this other banger comes from. It's from the Jeffrey Epstein deposition.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Could you please give us your name?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Is it true, sir, that you have what's been described as an...
Because there's a bit where he says, I hate pedophiles, right? Let me see if I can find this.
We're giving you a front.
Oh, no. This is a meme. Someone edited it. Oh, fuck. Jeffy Eggy. Also, hello, Sophie. I forgot to say hi. Yeah, because he was gooning. He misshaped it. Yeah. Poor Jeffrey. The I hate pedophiles thing is not real. I'm really sad. From now on, he is Epstein. Yeah. This footage is from what, like 2010, I'd assume? 2009, 2008, around then. But yes, that's why it looks shit. Hi, Silent Scythe. Good to see you back. Crazy stuff. Yeah, I love the school background photo drop. You're right about that much. The disclosures also touch on Trump's long-standing relationship with Thomas Barrack, a real estate investor close to Trump. This is the guy who, by the way, called, as we said yesterday, called the Lebanese journalist animals. Someone who was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, by the way. I think being friends with Jeffrey Epstein is more animalistic than whatever the hell the charges are against the Lebanese journalists. I'm going to be frank with you. But here we go. Barack was a major fundraiser for the Trump campaign. He now serves as a US ambassador to Turkey and Trump's special envoy to Syria. In March 2016, Epstein and Barack made small talk via email. Barack asked Epstein to catch up, while Epstein complained about the constant questions from the media. Poor Epstein, his life is so hard. He was always getting asked by the media, hang on a second, why were you doing all of the stuff when you were doing... I mean, why would anyone be interested in a guy who was a former maths teacher, who was involved in sex trafficking, who was involved in brokering security deals between multiple countries, and was asking significant figures about why he wanted... Send photos of you and child, Epstein added. Make me smile. Barack did not respond to requests for comment sent to him through the US State Department's Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs, where he works. And yeah, hi Michelle, it's all going smoothly. And yes, His Excellency. Hope you are well. Photos look good. FYI, I receive many calls a week about both Donald, beauty contest Mar-a-Lago, etc., and Clinton from reporters. Less so recently with Clinton, but my answers, we read this yesterday, but it's just him saying that he doesn't care. A few months later, Epstein wrote to businessman Peter Thiel, "Don't know how well you know Tom Barack, he is great." Epstein would go on to introduce Thiel and Barack separately to Russian ambassador to the UN, Vitaly Churkin. According to schedules obtained by the Wall Street Journal, Thiel told the journal that Epstein was a crazed networker and low on substance, adding, "I didn't think enough about what Epstein's agenda might have been." I'm sorry, shut up. Of course you knew what his agenda was. It's also amazing that... fucking Peter Thiel is so drugged up to the gills that he was actually stupid enough to respond to one of these things. Oh. He loved implicating everyone. Yeah. Emailing fucking Tom Barack about pictures of children. What are you doing there? Don't know how well you know. He will be a speaker at the convention. He runs Colony Capital, solid, great real estate judgment, Donald's fundraiser. It's also really weird that apparently someone who was like fundraising for Epstein, for like a major fundraiser for Epstein, for Donald Trump would have been associating with Jeffrey Epstein, and would be referred to by Jeffrey Epstein as great. It's now called Digital Bridge. Colony purchased Raffles International. What does it do? Just like real estate investment? Who knows? Times after its co-founder was accused of In the wake of Harvey Weinstein's sexual assault scandal in late October 2017, it was reported that Colony Capital had proved hesitant to purchase Weinstein Co. After a week of exclusive notifications, Fortress Investment Group was also in talks to provide a loan to Weinstein Co. Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein. I want a map showing what countries were and weren't involved with Epstein. Sounds like everyone knew him. Yes. And I think that, like, people have known about all of this stuff. Like, people have known about, like, things with Epstein being involved. But I think maybe I was a little dismissive of this stuff. Because, you know, we can go down conspiracies. And I think that that's kind of the annoying thing of, like, Epstein controlled the world. Epstein is this guy who did everything. That's the reason that America's doing Israel support and this and that. And it's like... Imagine Peter Thiel calls you low on substance. Yeah, it's hard to find someone like that. One of these lunatics actually believes they're something not quite human. Yeah, it's like, you know, Peter Thiel is against transgender people because he believes that they don't go far enough, and that more people should, and that like people should be doing more, like crazy things. Countries that weren't Cuba. Well, there's a photo of Epstein with Fidel Castro, so Daripa probably should have a little discussion about why there's a photo, so maybe even they were involved. But they weren't, like, heavily involved. I don't know why it's so fucking pixelated. But here you have a photo. That's Castro there. And who's that? Is it the Venezuelan president? Oh, God. Pastrana, Colombian president. That's it. Pastrana. But yeah, all roads lead to Israel. I don't think it's necessarily an Israel thing. Transhumanism. No, and also, by the way, I think some of you need to have like a second and take a step back and accusing you. It's no wonder that the snark-brained snipers who are going to shoot AB allegedly are literally on here defaming Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel does not have a ketamine addiction. Peter Thiel is allegedly enjoying other drugs, perhaps potentially MDMA, but not ketamine. He thinks trans is when you transhuman, yeah. Well, no, he thinks that transgender people are wrong because they need to be like getting the bionic Benson and stuff, you know. Bro, Epstein is everywhere. Yes. Epstein is genuinely everywhere. According to the House Oversight Committee, Epstein told Emirati businessman Sultan Ahmad bin Sulayem that it might be worth it to accept an invitation from Barack to attend Trump's inauguration. Do you think it will be possible to shake hands with Trump? Bin Sulayem wrote back. Epstein told bin Sulayem to call him on the phone. Should I accept the invitation sent by Tom Barack? Very many people are going. It will be very crowded. But if you can meet somewhere before or after in either Wash or NY, it might be worth it, but unlikely. Do you think it will be possible to shake hand with Trump? Oh my God, we got Epstein's phone number. Who's calling him? Who's ringing up Epi? I'm going to get arrested for doxing Jeffrey Epstein. Emails from the Handala leaks show Epstein introduced Barack to bin Sulayem in 2013, describing bin Sulayem as the right hand of Maktoum, the ruling family of Dubai. In 2015, bin Sulayem reached out to Epstein to arrange another meeting with Barack for reasons unexplained. Epstein also kept a photo of himself with bin Sulayem in his apartment, according to images released by the New York Times. Crazy fucking stuff. It doesn't end here. This stuff does not actually end. It's crazy. Also, by the way, when Castro was like towards the end of his life, Pastrana was the one who actually had contact with Epstein. Handala is a group of Palestinian hackers who are, most people say, are not Palestinian, and they're actually Iranian hackers who have done incredible work at getting huge amounts of information. There's a lot of stuff that isn't Epstein related. There's a lot of stuff that is like, they have like the Israeli police records and stuff that they've just published online. But yeah. But yes, it's Handala. But once again, look at how Trump's administration is currently going and like where Epstein brought these people to Trump. It is crazy to think that someone associated with Epstein could have a close relationship with Trump, because there's no way that Tom Barack would not have been investigated by, you know, like the CIA and all these people, and it would have been said, look, Barack had a relationship with Epstein. Epstein also gifted him like a $10,000 Rolex or an AP or some kind of $10,000 watch. Ethan Klein watching this saying, well, actually, maybe Epstein was based because he liked watches and I like watches. Bin Sulayem's company did not respond to requests for comment. Epstein, a financial messenger by trade, was interested in mixing business with politics. He wasn't just interested in that, he was interested in mixing sex trafficking with politics. He frequently wrote to Barack about his excitement for military and intelligence affairs. The past 2 decades of chaos in the Middle East offered Epstein plenty of opportunities to get involved. But the disclosures also underscore questions about the Epstein case. What value did so many influential political elites from around the world see in advice from a convicted sex offender? And what exactly was Epstein's political endgame? In a 2014 email, Epstein joked to a friend about the danger that her talk about girls will renew an old habit. Then he listed all the meetings he had lined up during the UN General Assembly in New York. They included power brokers from the Middle East, Europe, and beyond, and America. Sorry, I read that wrong. You need to talk to boss. Agreed, but I need to be prepared to say yes before I talk to him. Understood. It comes down to high risk, high reward, low risk / reward, professional, emotional, and financial. Most girls do not have to worry about this crap. Girls, careful. I will renew an old habit. This week, Teals Summers, Bill Burns, Gordon Brown. Great to know that former British Prime Minister is involved with a sex trafficker. Jagland, Council of Europe and Noble Chairman. Mongolian President. Hadi Pure, India. Boris Gates. Jabor, Qatar. Sultan, Dubai. Koslin, Harvard. Leon Black, Woody. Why is Woody, oh my God, how have I forgotten his name? I want to say Woody Allen. No, it won't be Woody Harrelson. You are a welcome guest at any. Also, if you think there are interesting people in town, everyone here for Climate Summit, Clinton, Security Council. Holy shit, I'm on something for next 30 minutes. Weird message. But yeah, this is what we got out of this. Weird he was meeting all of these people. Hello, Gold MHS. Hope you're good. Did he actually just think, like, that watch is cheap? I'm sorry, like, imagine that being your takeaway. I doubt that was his entire takeaway, but I doubt he cared about, like, any of this Israel stuff, which is most definitely very, 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 very interesting. But, like, look at this one from September of... Oh, my God, this might be... wait, who's Tamem? So, wait, we just need to go back to this. So, this is from the actual documents. That was Matthew Petty, who's doing great reporting on it. Tamim bin... Oh my God. So Jeffrey Epstein was communicating... What the fuck? So this is... So probably he might have been talking about Tamim bin Hamad al-Thani. Listen to this. Tamim just called MBS. He wants to sit and talk. Breakthrough. So I was asking Tony Soprano Lover if there's much in here about like, you know, stuff to do with... the Qatar crisis. This is potentially stuff to do with the fucking Qatar crisis. See you in New York Thursday from Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, I think Trump cut the legs off your guy. He would like to take all credit. If there is a deal or be seen to be strong on terror, this is 100% about, this is 1000% about the Qatar crisis actually looking like this. What is your shoe size? Don't mind me asking. Is this some sort of perverted question? 12 American, of course. Big feet, Jeffrey Epstein, a lot bigger than mine. Are we meeting in New York? Of course. Very well. Please, when you have a minute, send me the date and time. I know the house by now. When is good for you? Late Thursday? Friday lunch? Whatever you prefer. Thursday at 6 p.m., is that okay? See you then. If you bussy... wait. Hi, Habibi. I'm in New York. The sooner we meet, the better. I go back with my son on his first week in a new school. If you bussy... Maybe more allegations to do with male homoerotic relationships. Don't worry, I can wait until Thursday. Thanks again. Wed at 2? I'm in my car at your door. Can I ring or 2 sharp? Hi. Importance high. Okay, there we go. But yeah, just crazy stuff going on here. This is the whole thread. Oh, wait, the thread begins here. Your man did well. Congratulations. Things look very bad in the Gulf. My feeling Trump do not want to end it. What is your... This is Jeffrey Epstein discussing ending the crisis. Ending the Qatar crisis. Like, what the fuck? Talking with someone who clearly has insider information from the Qatari government about this crazy stuff. It's actually so interesting. Another one, this, hold on. Another one suggests, why did Jeffrey Epstein's private jet fly to Riyadh on the eve of the 2016 election? If you are telling me that the Saudi, American, and all of these governments had no idea what Jeffrey Epstein was up to, and that he was calling any of these people, or was like, had this heavier relationship with Israel, then I don't know what to say with you. It just kind of shows you the position that he was in. Insider previously reported that Jeffrey Epstein's private jet flew from Paris to somewhere over the Arabian Peninsula on November 7th, 2016. The jet returned to Paris 48 hours later. This guy could have been a deal maker, and if it wasn't probably for the sex trafficking and arguments with Trump, or like the sex trafficking ever being found out, Jeffrey Epstein would probably be like a key figure in the Trump administration. Trump loves this shit, and the person who said, oh, who do you think his replacement is, and then said Jared Kushner in the chat is pretty fucking right. Like, it seems Jared Kushner just assumed the role that he once had. No, I think he said if you busy and just added 2 S's. Newly located flight data discovered from the journalist Eric Rosenwald shows that Epstein's Gulfstream GVSP landed in Riyadh at King Khalid International, the main airport of the Saudi Arabian capital. Crown Prince MBS, with whom Epstein has claimed to be close friends, was in Riyadh at the time, holding meetings with Amazon CEO Bezos. Bezos and MBS did not answer questions about whether they met the accused sex trafficker around the same time. Bezos attended at least 2 dinners with Epstein in 2004 and 2011. The presence of Epstein's jet in Riyadh provides additional information of the financier's close ties to the Saudi kingdom. Intelligence ties. It has to be that. It has to be that. I think that this is like, I know that this is confusing and this is overwhelming because there is huge amounts of times. There's huge amounts of information and there's so much about, like, is it about Trump? Is it about this thing? How do we understand these things? Yeah, and we also have this article, which the day Jeffrey Epstein told me he had dirt on powerful people, James B. Stewart. So this is, he allegedly visited Jeffrey Epstein at his cavernous mansion in August 16th, 2018. The overriding impression I took away from our roughly 90-minute conversation was that Mr. Epstein knew an astonishing number of rich and famous powerful people and had photos to prove it, which we've now seen. He also claimed to know a great deal about these people, some of it potentially damaging or embarrassing, including details about their supposed sexual proclivities and recreational drug use. So one of my first thoughts on hearing Mr. Epstein's suicide was that many prominent men and at least a few women must be breathing sighs of relief that whatever Mr. Epstein knew, he has taken with him. During our conversation, Epstein made no secret of his own scandalous past. He'd pleaded guilty to state charges of soliciting prostitution from underage girls and was a registered sex offender, and acknowledged to me that he was a pariah in polite society. At the same time, he seemed unapologetic. His very notoriety, he said, was what made so many people willing to confide in him. Everyone, he suggested, has secrets, and he added, compared with his own, they seemed innocuous. People confided in him without feeling awkward or embarrassed, he claimed. Fucking hell. What was that thing that Trump said about sharing secrets? The two of them had very, 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 very close personal friendships. The two of them undeniably were very, very, very close friends. And Trump mentioned secrets. It's looking more likely to me that Epstein was a fixer. In part, yes, but a fixer who operated around people who were undeniably like Israeli intelligence assets. Like, that's what DropSite is really the reporting, the kernel of there. Or what we'd find there. I'd never met Epstein before. I had contacted him because my colleagues and I had heard a rumor that he was advising Tesla's embattled chief executive, Elon Musk, who was in trouble after announcing on Twitter that he had lined up the funding to take Tesla private. The Securities and Exchange Commission began an investigation into Mr. Musk's remarks, which moved markets but didn't appear to have much basis in fact. There were calls for Mr. Musk to relinquish his position as Tesla's chairman and for Tesla to recruit more independent directors. I'd heard that Mr. Epstein was compiling a list of candidates at Mr. Musk's behest, and that Mr. Epstein had an email from Mr. Musk authorizing the search for a new chairman. Fucking hell. I wonder if we'll ever get that email. I don't think so somehow. Their shared secret. Yes. And also, why do you think that he mentioned drug use at the start of this, and then it's in the context of fucking Elon Musk, what we know now? Aye. Sorry. Wolf claimed the secret from that birthday letter was a shared girlfriend. Maybe it was a shared girlfriend, but also I think there's also other things like he openly announced that Jeffrey Epstein liked younger women and he liked women just as much as he did. I think that there's other things. Now we have people defending Epstein for things he already admitted. Yeah. I mean, there are people who defend Epstein. For example, Alan Dershowitz, but that's really not surprising. The securities... okay, here we go. Mr. Musk and Tesla vehemently deny this. It is incorrect to say that Epstein has ever advised Elon on anything, a spokeswoman for Mr. Musk, Keely Sulprizio, said Monday. When I contacted Mr. Epstein, he readily agreed to an interview. The caveat was that the conversation would be on background, which meant I could use information as long as I didn't attribute it to directly to him. I consider that condition to have lapsed with his death. No. Epstein's ghost is going to be haunting this guy's ass for releasing information about him. Yeah, if Hassan was in the Epstein files, that would matter much more to Ethan Klein than anything else in here. Even if Destiny was in the Epstein files. Let's be real. Destiny's like a peewee offender, an alleged peewee offender. Epstein is much higher. He's like Epstein's, as I said, is the MVP of sex trafficking and even sex offending. He insisted that I meet him at his house, which I'd seen referred to as the largest single-family home in Manhattan. This seems plausible. I initially walked past the building on East 71st Street because it looked more like an embassy or museum than a private home. Next to the imposing double doors was a polished brass plaque with the initials Jeffrey Epstein, J.E., and a bell. After I rang, the door was opened by a young woman, her blonde hair pulled back in a chignon, who greeted me, a chignon? I don't know how you say that. Who greeted me with what sounded like an Eastern European accent, Jesus Christ. I can't say how old she was, but my guess would be late teens or perhaps 20. Given Mr. Epstein's past, this struck me as far too close to the line. Why would Mr. Epstein want a reporter's first impression to be that of a young woman opening his door? Because, like Jimmy Savile, he liked to assert over people that he could do whatever he wanted. He is Epstein for a reason. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I can't say how old she was. We just read that. The woman led me up a monumental staircase to a room on the second floor overlooking the Frick Museum across the street. It was quiet, the lighting dim, and the air conditioning was set very low. After a few minutes, Mr. Epstein bounded in, dressed casually in jeans and a polo shirt, shook my hand and said he was a big fan of my work. Rich people be spending money on polo shirts and jeans. Poor people be wearing Gucci. That's my lesson. That's my lesson for you guys. Epstein was just wearing jeans and a polo shirt, and yet you guys are trying to drip out in Gucci. Chignon. I said chignon first, but chignon. Chignon. He had a big smile and a warm manner. He was trim and energetic. Perhaps from all the yoga he said he was practicing, he was undeniably charismatic. Before we left the room, he took me to a wall with framed photographs. He pointed to a full-length shot of a man in traditional Arab dress. That's MBS, he said, referring to Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. The Crown Prince had visited him many times, and they spoke often, Mr. Epstein said. He led me to a large room at the rear of the house. There was an expansive table with about 20 chairs. Mr. Epstein took a seat at the head, and I sat to his left. He had a computer, a small blackboard, and a phone to his right. He said he was doing some foreign currency trading. No way was he. Well, maybe he was doing foreign currency trading. Who knows what this guy was doing? Maybe he was just doing looking up women to molest on the internet or just sending crap. And listeners be tipping EGP, lol. Thank you very much, Nola. Any donation or support is appreciated. I'm so glad for the memberships. Members love it. The members love me. You are appreciated, and I need to work out what to do. I don't know whether it's a members only one stream a week now that I'm up to 5, but I don't know what to do. He led me to a large room at the rear of the house. There was an expansive table with about 20 chairs. Mr. Epstein took a seat at the head, and I sat to his left. He had a computer, a small blackboard, and a phone to his right. Oh, sorry, I read that already. Behind him was a table covered with more photographs. I noticed one of Mr. Epstein with former President Bill Clinton, and another of him with the director Woody Allen. He fucking loved Woody Allen. What is his obsession with Woody Allen? Yes, I'll speak to someone about doing that. After I'm done tonight, I probably won't be on Mega Late. I've got to speak to overzealots about potentially what we're doing, and then also I need to talk about, as I've said before, I need it so like the video is just on one bit, because it feels like the stream is growing, you know, again. Displaying photos of celebrities who had been caught up in sex scandals of their own also struck me as odd. Yes, it is pretty odd that most of your friends are sex offenders, but what's the old saying? Boz baboz konad. I can't remember the rest, but it's birds of a feather flock together. And I know it starts with Boz baboz konad. Mr. Epstein avoided specifics about his work for Tesla. He told me that he had good reason to be cryptic. Once it became public that he was advising a company, he'd have to stop doing so because he was radioactive. He predicted that everyone at Tesla would deny talking to him or being his friend. Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk, of course he denied it. I work an entry-level library aide, and one of my fellow aides already has her what's an MILS degree? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm poor and I look good from the charity shop. No. Parvaz Konad. The whole saying is longer than Boz baboz Konad. Parvaz Konad. There's more to it, but I don't remember it. I unfortunately don't remember it. Predators move in flocks, Kendrick Lamar. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong about that. But also, by the way, once again, factoring into why Jeffrey Epstein was such a good intelligence asset, because he knew he couldn't talk or make public the things he was getting up to. And it, like, as I say, I'm not going to sit here and just constantly read through all of this stuff about, from Dropsite, but I gave you the kernel of the reporting and like talked about the important stuff, and like, yeah, it just talks about how many intelligence agencies were just around Jeffrey Epstein and how like security agreements he brokered with Mongolia and Cote d'Ivoire that him and Barack were working on were just ended up like being something more significant. My city, they opened a new library and tried to close it again for cuts. Did they open a new library in Bristol? I didn't know that. Obviously, I don't go to Bristol Library. He said this was something he'd become used to, even though it didn't stop people from visiting him, coming to his dinner parties, or asking him for money. That was why Mr. Epstein told me, without any trace of irony, he was considering becoming a minister so that his acquaintances would be confident that their conversations would be kept confidential. If he was reticent about Tesla, he was more at ease discussing his interest in young women. He said that criminalizing sex with teenage girls was a cultural aberration and that at times in history it was perfectly acceptable. He pointed out that homosexuality had long been considered and was still punishable by death in some parts of the world. By the way, can I just add that, like, Jeffrey Epstein talks like fucking Vorsh and Destiny and all of these people about why actually it might be okay to do pedophilia in some ways, and I don't think that there is nothing to say about that. That Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted sex offender, is saying this kind of stuff. Mr. Epstein then meandered into a discussion of other prominent names in technology circles. He said people in Silicon Valley had a reputation for being geeky workaholics, but that was far from the truth. They were hedonistic, regular users of recreational drugs. By the way, he is definitely talking about Elon Musk and also the little Peter Thiel, the little weird boy. He said he'd witnessed prominent tech figures taking drugs and arranging for sex. Mr. Epstein stressed that he never drank or used drugs of any kind. Weird that neither him nor Trump ever did that. He definitely used drugs. I kept trying to steer the conversation back to Tesla, but Mr. Epstein remained evasive. He said he'd spoken to the Saudis about possibly investing in Tesla, but he wouldn't provide any specifics or names. By the way, just look at what this guy was. He was like fucking fixing deals. This guy is like Trump through and through. The people around him are Trump through and through. They love the Gulf deals and all of this kind of stuff. When I pressed him on the purported email from Musk, he said the email wasn't from Musk himself, but from someone very close to him. He wouldn't say who that person was. I asked him if the person would talk to me, and he said he'd ask. He later said the person declined. I doubt he asked. When I later reflected on our interview, I was struck by how little information Mr. Epstein had actually provided. While I can't say anything he said was an explicit lie, much of what he said was vague or speculative and couldn't be proved or disproved. Well, it can be now. He did have at least some ties to Mr. Musk. A widely circulated photo shows Mr. Musk with Ghislaine Maxwell, Mr. Epstein's confidant and former companion, at the 2014 Vanity Fair Oscars party. A better time, a better, simpler time. So he was just being portrayed to facilitate access. I think in part, but also because of the fact that, you know, you have these connections and you can effectively become an intelligence asset without necessarily being employed by one of those organizations. Because the CIA couldn't have someone, the CIA, FBI, whoever, or the Israeli intelligence couldn't have someone who was a convicted sex offender working for them. I mean, they probably do have many convicted sex offenders, but not someone so prominent as Jeffrey Epstein. Ghislaine simply inserted herself behind him in a photo he was posing for without his knowledge. Miss Sulprizio, the spokeswoman for Mr. Musk, said, "Classic Italians, always lying." Epstein had definitely said the phrase, "if there's grass..." Yes, I think he did say, "if there's grass on the field, play ball." Musk's brother was set up by with his girlfriend by Epstein. Yeah, I've heard that story. It seemed clear Mr. Epstein had embellished his role in the Tesla situation to enhance his own importance and gain attention, something that now seems to have been a pattern. No, I don't think he did. I do not think he did. Wasn't there like Saudi investors in X? Saudi's second largest investor in Twitter after Musk takeover. Epstein talks here about facilitating relationships between Musk and Saudis. I don't actually think that this shit is embellished. Overzealous is Italian. Overzealous is he's one of the good ones. He's not fucking Sardinian. The damn Sardinians. So curse Antonio Gramsci. Curse Antonio Gramsci for what he has done. His war of position makes my blood boil. That phrase makes me wanna vomit. It seemed, yeah. I also don't think so. Something that now seems to have been a pattern. It was not It was not a pattern at all. Epstein told the truth. In fact, Epstein got nowhere near that. And I like Gramsci. I'm joking. About a week after that interview, Mr. Epstein called and asked if I'd like to have dinner that Saturday with him and Woody Allen. That sounds like one of the worst dinners in the world, having to go to dinner with Woody Allen. Like, I liked Annie Hall, but I could see why people would find Woody Allen to be a pretentious fucking prick. And didn't he ask Twiggy who her favourite philosopher was or something? A few weeks after that, he asked me to join him for dinner with the author Michael Wolff and Donald J. Trump's former advisor, Steve Bannon. I declined. I don't know if these dinners actually happened. Mr. Bannon has said he didn't attend. Mr. Wolff and a spokeswoman for Mr. Allen didn't respond to requests for comment on Monday. Both of those dinners happened, and the one with Bannon definitely fucking happened. By the way, also, I think, like, going into this and just being like, yeah, none of this stuff happened, you could say, well, no, I just thought Epstein was inflating it. You have been to his house. You have seen photos with him with Mohammed bin Salman after being a convicted sex offender. You have seen photos of him with everyone. You know that so many people were going to his house. It does seem that saying that this was all inflated is a pretty crazy take to come out of this. But yeah, nightmare blunt rotation, yes. Several months passed, then early this year, Mr. Epstein called to ask if I'd be interested in writing his biography. He sounded almost plaintive. I sensed that what he really wanted was companionship. As his biographer, I'd have no choice but to spend hours listening to his saga. Already leery of any further ties to him, I was relieved, I could say, that I was already busy with another book. That was the last I heard from him. After his arrest and... I'm left to wonder, what might he have told me? Well, stuff that you would have just gone is not true. You should have fucking taken that job. Whatever book you wrote, what book did this guy write? Oh, he wrote a book called Deep State, Trump, the FBI, and the Rule of Law. So that's what the guy was busy doing. You could have found out so much about the fucking deep state if you just listened to this guy and what the hell he was up to. But yeah, I mean, I think that's... Oh, wait. No. We have one final thing, which is Epstein. In a latest Epstein dump, a major UAE royal, Sultan bin Sulayem, whose name ended up on the Epstein docs as a character reference, but who has denied the knowledge of being listed, sends Epstein an email about shoes embedded with GPS. Thanks, great idea. I really like your friend. I wonder who his friend was who was emailing him about. Integrated shoes by GTXC, though originally made to track patients and kids, we're sure the shoes will soon be integrated with Nike. Epstein unalived himself because he was rejected. Yeah, this guy should probably stop and take a long, hard fucking think about the consequences that he had on poor Jeffy's mental health. It's Men's Mental Health Month soon, and yet, you know, you're sat here and being mean to Jeff? To our boy, Jeffy Epi? He wanted companionship. It's also crazy because, by the way, Jimmy Savile, when he knew that he was going to die, got a biographer who was basically someone for company with him and started to reveal very serious things. If this guy had actually taken it, he might have got somewhere pretty interesting. And it's very obvious that there was like some surface level stuff that Epstein could have talked about. Like, yeah, I was brokering all these agreements and I was around all these people. And it's so funny as well how, like, you know, people are like, well, no, they denied it. And everyone would deny this shit. Real Will Smith dodging the Matrix moment. Do British people pronounce Nike with a silent... oh, yeah, you guys call it Nike. Most people here call it Nike. We're sure the shoot will with plus iPod, so you can track your run in your personal Google mashup, or hide it in your wife's purse to see whether she's banging San Francisco's mayor, Gavin Newsom. Epstein was ahead of the curve in many ways on just hating Gavin Newsom. Or something like that. The system from GTXC has a sophisticated GPS integrated into the shoe, which communicates directly with satellite, which then relays locations in real time to their monitoring center and made available via internet or phone. Predetermined geographic areas can also be defined, and alerts will be sent when the person being tracked leaves or enters the area. And don't worry, they already have a product for outdoor activities like the wearable caddy. God, in the hands of Jeffrey Epstein, horrifying stuff. Horrifying stuff. And yeah, you're right. Creepy coming from these two. What did you delete? Why did you delete a message just saying lol? It's an American company. We pronounce it correctly. Maybe it's is it the Reebok or the Nike? This is the Reebok or the Nike. Do you do the Irish people in here? Do you pronounce it like I do, as in Nike? I know. I'm always getting chastised for not calling it Nike. You guys are gonna have to get used to my British pronunciations. That's all I'm saying. Machina Kanetka. Keeping track of your loved ones has never been so easy or so spy-like with the new Explorer smart GPS shoes designed by GTXC. The company boasts the shoes incorporate the smallest, most powerful and robust GPS tracking devices currently available. Says that they are ideal for caretakers of children or the elderly to easily monitor the location or their changes. Also, by the way, Adidas, yeah, it wouldn't be Adidas, it would be Adidas. Adidasler, because it's named after someone called Adi Dassler. Adolf Dassler. Adi Dassler. So Adidas, not Adidas. Yo, Adidas or the Nikes? Yo, who's wearing the Adidas or the Nikes? But yeah, it's just crazy what was going on in Jeffrey Epstein's emails. But I think we'll leave Epstein there tomorrow. Maybe we'll do Chomsky tomorrow. I'm quickly going to go pee, and then I've got a little thing I want to cover about the UK government, which is now planning to take jewelry from asylum seekers. So amazing things are happening in the UK. I'll be back in a very short period of time. Jay is laying a hand grenade. British running out of stolen things to fill their museums. Great comment there. But yeah, just got a Reebok ad. That's because you just said Reebok and the government is surveilling you. They know you're a likely victim of the Reeboks. So yeah, the UK government is laying out its new asylum plan. So let's play the video they've just been spoken about.
Over 100,000 people now live in asylum accommodation, and over half of refugees remain on benefits 8 years after they have arrived. To the British public who foot the bill, the system feels out of control and unfair. It feels that way because it is. The pace and scale of change has destabilised communities. It is making our country a more divided place. There will never be a justification for the violence and racism of a minority. But if we fail to deal with this crisis, we will draw more people down a path that starts with anger and ends in hatred. I have no doubt about who we really are in this country. We are open, tolerant, and generous.
Do you know what I mean when I said yesterday we were watching Zach Polanski and it wasn't just a load of word salad? Like, this is just word salad. And like, Owen Jones has been posting this clip of her over and over again, which I'll show you. Yes, she's the Labour. She is a Labour left-wing politician. By the way, guys, vote for the lesser of two evils. I remember when I posted about this in the context of Kamala, and a lot of people liked it, but I got some pushback like, no, the UK's not the same as America. And of course, it's not like my claim here is not, oh, they're exactly the same. The US is a far more important country than us. Yet what I am saying is the kernel of this. The fact that this country elected allegedly left-wing politicians, and those left-wingers who over and over again showed their lack of radicalism and now pretend that the country is just divided over immigration, when it is also clear that their base is sapping support. They are never, by the way, once again, they are never going to be able to win people back on the basis of going harder on asylum claims. They're just not. It's not going to happen at all. They'll either go for the Tories or more likely Reform, and if they're more extreme, someone beyond that. There is no chance you appeal to the vast majority of people. On the topic of foreign policy and Palestine, stop maintaining a relationship with Israel. Stand up to Donald Trump a tiny bit. You will get some wins out of this. Green Party, surely. No. What I mean is that, like, people on the topic of this migration stuff, when they're like, we're going to crack down on asylum seekers, it's like, this isn't going to do anything. This isn't going to, actually make anything better. Is it? Like, this isn't going to win you votes. Change on Palestine. It is so much easier to change on Palestine, like, than this crap. And it will actually, well, it's the harder decision to make tangibly. But in line with what values you should be upholding, it is the easy choice to make. But of course, they won't do that because they're never going to. They feel this odious, racist desire to cling to Israel.
But the public rightly expect that we can determine who enters this country and who must leave. To maintain the generosity that allows us to provide sanctuary, we must restore order and control.
I also cannot reiterate enough. This government is so shit that they brought in Peter Mandelson to be the ambassador to Washington, who was a Jeffrey Epstein affiliated constant criminal. Green suggests Mahmoud is trying to out-reform. Yes, and they're never going to do it. Welcomes Home Secretary to join. Danny Kruger says he welcomes and recognises the rhetoric used by the Home Secretary today, before repeating a suggestion we have heard from opponents throughout the day that Labour sounds like Reform. Before she puts in her application to join Reform, can I out the differences between our parties, he asks. Kruger says Reform doesn't propose giving illegal immigrants the right to stay for 2.5 years to work and study or to bring their families over. He adds that Reform is also not going to contort our law to fit into the European Convention on Human Rights. Mahmoud points out that there wasn't a question in there from Kruger. As for his invitation to join the party, she said, over my dead body. What's the point? What is genuinely the point of this at all? It's not going to fix anything. Just this lurch towards the right is awful. And here we have the leader of the far-right party, again, a black woman, a black Nigerian woman who constantly spends her time talking about how she isn't black and Nigerian and how she's actually English and is just awful.
The secretary will know that in the 70 days that she has been in office, 10,000 people have crossed the channel. And in the last year, we have seen record levels of asylum claims. The problem has got worse since Labour came into office and is getting even worse by the day. But I am afraid to tell her that what she is announcing is not going to work on its own. And some of these measures will, in fact, take us backwards. I say that to her with no ill will, and I hope she believes me. when I say I genuinely want her to succeed. Because on this side of the House, we are speaking from experience. We know how difficult this is. It is, we are. And we're not going to take any lectures from the people who voted down every single measure to control immigration.
But so yeah, this is currently the thing going on in the UK, and it's like, listen to, like, I'm sorry, when you just find yourself aligned with the Conservative Party, with reforms, the two racist parties, it's insane to think about. But the truth is this narrative is always going to sell. But I think, like, you are never going to win on this battlefield. It's like when Bernie Sanders is like, oh, Kamala should have been harder on the border. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, the problem is that none of this stuff is going to win back the voters that you want. You are just giving ground to your enemies, who are always going to be able to push it further, especially outside of power. Inside of power, they won't tangibly fix the things that these people claim that they actually want changing in our society. It's not going to make things cheaper. It's not going to deal with many of the issues that we have in our society. And so people will say, oh, you're still crazy left-wingers who just do loads of immigration. Appeal to the left. It is so clear. Zach Polanski has surged the Greens so much by actually being left-wing.
We will do so by making refugee status temporary, not permanent. A grant of refugee status will last 2.5 years, not 5. It will be renewed only if it is impossible for a refugee to return home. Permanent settlement will now come at 20 years, not 5. I know this country welcomes people who contribute, and for those who want to stay and are willing and able to, we will create a new work and study visa route solely for refugees, with a quicker path to permanent settlement. To encourage refugees into work, we will also consult on removing benefits for those who are able to work but choose not to. Outside of the most exceptional circumstances, family reunion will not be possible, with a refugee only able to bring family over if they have joined a work and study route and if qualifying tests are met.
The fact that they demonize people for that. I have met so many people who are struggling to get graduate visas on the basis of the fact that they have to earn so much to bring over family members. And it's like, the person is just obviously so hardworking and so wants to come here on the basis of building a better life that is not plausible in the pace that they're from because of the economic issues that it's faced. And it's just like, this person is demonized and you are buying into that. And you claim this helps division, helps solve our problems in society. But it obviously doesn't. What is this going to actually do to do anything at all? So yeah, they're now making it so every 2.5 years to remain in Britain, rather than they will basically have to reapply for their asylum status. They will then have to wait, rather than 5 years for permanent settlement, up to 20 years, a longer period than anywhere else in Europe. And you just consider, like, how barbaric this is. They're like, oh, it's to address the limbo which asylum seekers are in, which is true. Asylum seekers very much are in limbo in the sense of the fact that they're not allowed to work. They're stuck in these hotels, which, of course, it is a huge amount of money that we spend, but the hotels are pretty fucking squalid. Everyone's like, look at this beautiful building that they're in. And frankly, it's also just indicative of capitalism that there are these companies who are like, hang on a second, we are struggling to get people to come to hotels because the British public has less money, so of course we're going to just sell them to the government to do this thing, and the government sees a quick fix where they can enrich people who are friendly to them, who will give them huge amounts of money in response. Even if they are not hardworking, people don't deserve to be treated like this. No, you're right. People don't deserve to be treated like this. But what I'm saying is that, like, people are framed as, like, abusers of the asylum system who transcend the legal order. And it's just like, these are people who want to come to the country more often than not. Of course, like, there are criminals. There are criminals amongst people who do this. But there are obviously criminals amongst the white British population as well. But the truth is that they just buy into the reform stuff of being like, yeah, actually, this is what's causing division and hate in our country. Yeah. Very English coded to pillage and intentionally destabilize half the world and then get pissed off when people show up. Exactly. We are the ones blocking criticism of the United Arab Emirates and their policies of what they're doing in Sudan at the United Nations Security Council. We then complain that Sudanese people come here. We were the ones who ruled over Sudan and bequeathed them a political system that continually led to conflict between different ethnic groups and then complain when people can't find economic opportunities there. We are the ones who stood by America and participated when they invaded Iraq and Afghanistan and then complain when people from Iraq and Afghanistan come here fleeing the Taliban. We are the ones who then sit here and bull-lick Donald Trump as he destabilizes Venezuela, which is sending more immigrants to places in, in Spain, in Europe. Because the truth is none of this is serious. None of this is at all serious, and it will not address the problems that we are facing in our society. But of course, it just appeals to a small amount of people. Like, do you actually think that there is any amount of people who are like, yeah, this is really, really awesome? Like, who are just like, wow, I'm definitely going to vote Labour now. But let's listen to this woman. Let's listen to this woman and what she had to say a few years ago.
Specific plans regarding amnesty for undocumented workers. Myself personally, as a Labour backbench member of Parliament, I do support a general amnesty for all people who are already in the country so they can regularise their status and start playing a full part in British society. But that will have to be alongside other documentation measures as well. That is not official Labour Party policy yet, but myself and a group of other Labour MPs are continuing to make the argument. Specific plans.
Look at this, man. And this is also why, as I say, I think the best that we can have for politics is hope. But when it comes to someone who is just like a bog standard Labour Party politician, what is there to say? That person is just a liar, and it's just disgusting. They're being cheered on by Tommy Robinson for a reason. Here's a Labour MP responding.
The Denmark-style policies briefed in the last couple of days are dystopian. It's shameful that a Labour government is ripping up the rights and protections of people who have endured unimaginable trauma. Is this how we'd want to be treated if we were fleeing for our lives? Of course not. So how can we be adopting such obviously cruel policies? Is the Home Secretary proud that the government has sunk to such depths that it's now being praised by Tommy Robinson?
Well, Mr. Speaker, look, I'm disappointed at the nature of the question from my honourable friend. I hope she will look at the detail of the reforms. And what I've said already on these matters is that we have a proper problem that it is our moral duty to fix. Our asylum system is broken. The breaking of that asylum system is causing huge division across our whole country. It is a moral mission for me to resolve that division across our country. I know that the reforms I will be setting out later on today can fix this system, and in doing so can unite what is today a divided country.
But part of the problem with the UK's asylum system, in my understanding, is that it is way too bloated and bureaucratic. How does adding more bureaucracy to it fix the problem? Answer, it doesn't. And it will just continually push us further and further into problems. And I was just looking up. So Vietnamese and together, Vietnamese and Afghan arrivals comprise 40% of the total in this period, and they are the top two nationalities arriving so far in 2024. Vietnamese nationals make up 20% of all arrivals so far compared to this year. In the same period, this represents a 10-fold year-on-year increase in Vietnamese arrivals. Maybe if we hadn't, had the American invasion of Vietnam that destabilized it all those years ago, there wouldn't be people coming over. I'm trying to look at the The most common single nationality was Pakistani, followed by Afghan. In previous recent years, the Middle East was the most common region, with Syrian and Iranian the most common nationalities. And why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Maybe if we hadn't done a fucking coup in Iran and then continually targeted the Iranian government over and over again and not allowed any kind of stabilization there, we wouldn't have these problems. But of course, that's not what we're going to confront. It's just not. And it's like, well, what? Is Iran a safe country to send people back to? Is Pakistan a safe country to send people back to? Is Afghanistan a safe country to send people back to? Like, frankly, what are you meant to do? And even look at this. Between 2021 and 2025, around 35,700 people had been resettled or relocated under the Afghan resettlement program. Now, if I check this, I just want to check that I'm correct. This is predominantly to do with people, the Afghan research, this was for Afghan citizens. Here you go. This is what I was thinking it was. This was for Afghan citizens who worked for or with the UK government in Afghanistan in exposed or meaningful roles and may include an offer of relocation to the UK for those deemed eligible. Like, seriously? Seriously? And you still maintain the same policy in the Middle East that ended up with Afghanistan, that ended up with Iraq? All of this crap? And yeah, how many Ukrainians are in the UK? According to AI, which is not the best source, let's see where it gets it from. Here you go. The UK's response to the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine in early 2022 included a special visa scheme for Ukrainians. Around 227,000 people have come to the UK under the Homes for Ukrainians scheme or the now-closed Ukrainian Family Scheme, the majority in 2022. While some have since left, the total Ukrainian population of the UK is estimated to have been 5 times higher in 2024 than it was in 2021. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Pakistan is safe. But yes, I mean, also, by the way, if you're opposed to the government, is Pakistan safe? Is Pakistan safe if you're, like, generally someone who's opposed to the government? Isn't it like an authoritarian country that has had multiple crackdowns against opposition? And people would probably cite the fact that they're from a persecuted group as a reason to come here as well. They have to adapt. But also, yeah, economic opportunities does form part of the reason that people would want to come. But people also come for, like, the claims will be based on, like, political, They'll come on the basis of, like, political persecution, identity persecution, like many different reasons that they'll come. So Pakistan, yes, may be generally a safe country for people to be in, but it's not a safe country for everyone. In the same way that arguably Iran would be a safe country unless you're an opposition person, unless you're someone who's in, like, you know, a dangerous area, unless you're someone from a protected group, i.e. Kurdish or something. I assume maybe Baluchis from Pakistan would come, because Baluchistan is not a recognized country. Or are Ahmadiyya Muslims Pakistani? I don't know if I don't know enough about that. Pakistan officially claims to be home to just, however, Pakistani Ahmadiyyas have boycotted since 1974. It might be people like Ahmadiyyas and stuff like that who are coming, but yeah. It's not like war-torn. Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that it's war-torn. What happened to the UK narrative of Polish immigration being a problem? Because frankly, Polish immigration doesn't sell as well as these people are black Muslims who are coming to our land to take it over and target all your women and are foreign sex criminals. Sells a bit with Romania and stuff, like people like that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's just not as powerful. But perhaps the most barbarous part of all of their new fangled government awesome plans to deal with the asylum problem is asylum seekers' jewellery could be seized to pay for processing costs, says Home Office Minister. Asylum seekers could have their jewellery or other valuables taken to pay for the costs of processing their cases, a Home Office Minister has said, in another detail of how changes to migration policy likely to cause concern among Labour MPs. Speaking to broadcasters before the formal announcement of sweeping changes to asylum policy on Monday, the Home Office Minister, Alex Norris, said while this would not involve seizing wedding rings, jewellery without sentimental value could be taken. really great to see that, I guess the left-wing government is, the amazing left-wing government is finally redistributing wealth. The shame is that they're taking it from asylum seekers, The idea is another borrowed from Denmark's tough approach to asylum by Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, in an attempt to reduce the number of refugees coming to the United Kingdom. While Mahmood has billed the changes as the only way to see off dark forces stirring up anger over migration, a number of Labour MPs are known to dislike some of the ideas, with at least one minister on resignation watch. But it's just crazy. It is crazy. Jeremy Corbyn had a really good tweet about this. He's actually went on a banger. Removing asylum support, seizing belongings, deporting entire families, including children. Labour are not just paving the path to a reform government. Reform may as well already be in power. This government has no moral compass, and it should be ashamed of its inhumanity. Yes, we need wealth redistribution, not like... Let's be frank here. The government is selling off, and this is something. The government is increasingly getting involved with Palantir. They take private donations. They refuse to change on Israel. Address these issues and win your base back. Don't be the party that you are and have become, because this is not going to win you anything. It is dogshit, and it is not helping to make our country better. Labour won't redistribute wealth from billionaires, but they will seize belongings from those fleeing war and persecution. Absolutely disgusting. Asylum seekers are human beings, and they deserve to live in dignity just like anybody else. The claim is basically that they won't seize jewellery of sentimental value. Of course that's not going to happen, because who is enforcing this? They will probably end up seizing jewellery and saying, oh, you're making up the sentimental value. And by the way, who gets to define what sentimental value is? And how do you check whether an item has sentimental value or any of this kind of thing? The answer? Probably not. But the thing is, you probably won't be able to. But the fact and the hard issue of all of this is you could address so many of our problems through a wealth tax, but they're not going to do it. It is never, ever, ever going to happen, because the Labour government are far right. The Labour government are in bed with Donald Trump. They don't care. And it's just like, I think I sit here and just watch these people, and it's like Kamala Harris would have done the same, by the way. Kamala Harris would have pushed you a few years down the line to then there just being a takeover by some far-right winger. It's as simple as that. Someone who's far-right would have followed on from her, because they would have had the easiest layup to win the election. Because why? Kamala Harris would have not have improved the material conditions, immigration and such would have increased, and she would have then said, oh, she would have then basically said, well, they would have then basically said, well, look what the leftists do to your country, exactly as they did with Biden, and it would have been used as a way to win votes. Keeping the centre's tradition in stealing people's stuff. Yes. You know what? She is right. She's bringing back the things that brought us together. This is the same shit the Nazis did when they seized Jewish art abhorrent. Yeah, I mean, like, the truth is as well, most people just genuinely believe that hating an other and blaming them for your problems solves all of your issues, rather than ever addressing that a system which prioritizes profit is never ever going to be able to look after human beings properly. Like, let's be frank here. What is the interest of any company in a system which incentivizes making as much profit as possible? What is the incentive not to do that? Can someone please explain that to me? Like, how we get capitalists not to just try and make as much money as possible? Because there's no answer. That's the priority of what it is. Making fucking profit. Like, capitalism doesn't have a solution for that. But people aren't willing to see that, and they'd rather just keep finding another person to blame. And you know what? I think I say a wealth tax. I think the hard truth is that nothing fixes it. Like, nothing fixes it apart from moving away from capitalism. Because, as I said, with those hotels, why would those hotels not just be like, yeah, fuck it, we'll take government money to house these people? And why would the government not be like, well, we'll give you a kickback and we expect something in return for that? Well, like, how does this address any of these problems? it's just really hard to like look at what's going on in the UK and just see anything but this coming reform government that is undeniably going to happen. But at the same time, how shocked are you? Because if reform announced that they were going to do this, that they were going to seize the valuables, I'm sure that Labour out of power would be like, Keir Starmer would be like, this is an abhorrent action of the government to take away the personal belongings of those most in need. And imagine where this is going to be applied, like how Trump's ICE is just like applied to, you know, people in desperate situations. And like as well, like just basic things like the exploitation of being like a young person. Like, and look, I'm never ever going to deny I'm privileged, but I have worked in hospitality. And like, I've had the privilege of just being able to say, fuck it. Hospitality is a ridiculously exploitative industry filled with people who will bully you, who will treat you horribly because they own the business, or ultimately there's no one in the business really to hold them to account. That's more of a problem in our society. 0-hour contracts, more of a problem. The fact that our country is just in constant economic turmoil. It's hard, you know. It's hard because then it's just like, yeah, we're gonna see some jewelry from people and everything's gonna be okay. How is that gonna foot the bill for what is apparently £6 million per day? Biggest capitalists in the UK are all landlords, by the way. I mean, yeah, and they all seem to be loving the Reform Party. People don't appreciate how many figures within the Reform Party are just landlords or landowners or in all of these things. And like, I genuinely don't think that there's any way to address this in Britain. The NHS has proved the problem of top-down, like, socialist reform. Like, it can be undone. It's taken many years, but they have undone it. They have completely undone anything beneficial about the NHS, and it's now like just being privatized and sold off, and Palantir is getting itself involved. It just sucks. We need to stop foreign entities from BlackRock. How many houses does BlackRock even own in the UK? I hear people say that, but I actually have no idea what the number of houses is. All right, guys. I think that is where I will leave the stream today, unless there's anything else I want to cover on this topic. Yeah, that's everything I wanted to cover. And I will say, actually, that is a brilliant comment. If someone seeking refuge brings jewelry with them, you know it's important. They left their whole life behind, 100%. And who gets to define what is of sentimental value to another human being? But yeah, have a lovely rest of the evening. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all who've donated and supported. It's greatly appreciated. Have a lovely rest of the evening, and I will be live again tomorrow covering more stuff. So thank you very, very, very much. But yeah, have a lovely rest of the evening. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all who've donated and supported. It's greatly appreciated. Have a lovely rest of the evening, and I will be live again tomorrow covering more stuff. So thank you very, very, very much.